Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another DCU Daily. To start off the week, we are back after a rather, very short weekend. Felt like it zoomed by, but that is obviously beside the point. Welcome to the show, everyone. I could already see all your comments, but we are here to get into a whole bunch of fun things today in regards to the news and in regards to DC. Of course, got to talk about weapons owning the box office, some Superman box office stuff, as well as apparently some updates in regards to Spider-Man. Apparently, MJ might have a bigger role than we once thought. And then, some stuff in regards to Luke Cage and Doomsday. We did briefly talk about that a couple weeks back, but apparently they have shed a light on it. And of course, we got to get into our quick hits and then a little bit of DCU Daily for the DC news, because not a whole bunch of stuff today, but enough to keep you all satisfied for this wonderful day. But before we really truly get into it, let us show that we are all Knuff, and let's get into the news.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always number two.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding.
Robert
You're
Downey.
kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne. I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the needs now?
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
But here, oh my goodness, there we go. But we are here to talk about the news, and then of course I have to fully introduce myself. John, thank you, thanks for that. We are here. We're here to get into the news. John, very nice to see all the regulars. Got some regulars in the chat already, but of course all the new people who don't know who we are yet, because God knows we have what are we at, 20,000 subscribers at this point. Got to show off who we are. So there we go. Boom. John. And of course, I am not alone. I'm joined by Liz. I mean, just kidding. It's Dan. That was a little bit of a bait switch.
Where? What? Who?
Because usually when I'm in front of the camera hosting, it's usually Liz coming in. But nope, that was a little bit of a switch. So sorry,
we gotta keep the people on their toes. That's what it's all about. We gotta, like you said, actually,
Thanks,
the real.
Fiona.
So John, the real subscriber, the current live subscriber number, we are past 28,000. So thank you, everybody. The summer of Superman continues, and we are so blessed. And from the beginning, apparently, thank you, James Gunn, slaying the YouTubes. Thank you. Of course, I want to quickly say hello to everybody who's in the chat before we get the show going. So Enterprising, hey fam, you were first in the chat. But your bottom dollar that tomorrow there will be sun. Yes, there will be, indeed. That's what usually happens after, a night. It's what is it? The night is dark as before dawn, which is actually technically not correct. But anyway, Patrick, hello. How are you doing? Of course, Fiona is in the chat saying hello to everybody. A moderator, Fiona, that is. Doing okay. Need some cheering up, and y'all make me happy. Well, Enterprising, we are here to cheer you up, despite the fact that the thumbnail today might be a bit of a downer, but that's okay. That's all right. So the very first thing, though, John, it is a Monday show, and it is a news, filled show. We have a lot to get into. The quickest today will be packed, as will be the rest of the show. But the very first thing, so over the weekend, before the weekend, on Friday, yourself and Shaq, who was on the show for the first time, you guys really went, deep into spoiler conversation and did a full review of Weapons. And now Weapons, of course, is out in theaters. We were talking about how coming into the weekend, my speculation was that Freakier Friday would probably do better because it's got a bigger family audience. But then as we got the tracking numbers on Friday with the preview days and everything, you could easily tell that, Weapons would be much farther ahead. And well, that pretty much proved out to be true, John, because as it says here, right off the top, Weapons. Actually, I don't know if is that the Hollywood? Yes, the Weapons actually came in as the number one movie.
I'll
of the
open
week.
the official article.
And
There it is. There it
yeah,
is.
the number one movie of the weekend there, John, as you can see on the charts. If you're able to zoom into it, we can look at the numbers a little more closely. And going into the weekend, we were thinking somewhere in the 40 million, like 40, 42 million. And then on Sunday, they were talking like 43 maybe. Now, the actuals came in, the Monday actuals, and look at the numbers, 43.5 million, which is overperforming any of the predictions going into the weekend. Weapons easily beat out Freakier Friday, which came in at a very respectable $28.5 million number, which again, the comedy genre, I mean, again, this is Freakier Friday is not the Naked Gun. Naked Gun is not Freakier Friday, but they both fall under the comedy umbrella, and they're doing great. I mean, it's very impressive. I think if anything, Fantastic Four dropping like pretty much another 50+% to 15.7 million. That's really the big surprise in the sense that, again, we were expecting maybe for things to level off, but it looks like, the drops have been precipitous, and the Bad Guys 2 and the Naked Gun rounding out the top 5. I believe that puts Superman and F1 out of the top 5 of the domestic box office for the first time this year. Since their release, of course, F1 has dropped all the way to 8, but it's been around the longest. Jurassic World in 4.8. That actually comes out on streaming in about a week's time. And then Superman is a couple of weeks away, which we'll talk about later. So when you round out the top 10, John, a little further down, number 9 and number 10, you have Together and Sketch. Sketch is, much smaller movie, although it looks like a fun movie because it's kind of like a kids horror comedy in a sense. If you watch the trailer, it's from Angel Studios. And Together, John, you saw Together, and 2.5 million. I think, for a horror movie of its size and scale, it's not in a bad place. Now, if you keep going, the significant part of all of this is again how well. If you go over to the next article, how well Weapons is doing. Let's focus on Weapons for the time being.
Yes.
Because really, like the $70 million global box office number, that right there pretty much already makes it like profitable, more or less. It's certainly really close to it, if not already there, because with a budget of $38 million and probably like, let's say half of that in marketing, which is the usual rule of thumb, $70 million of which they made 43.5 domestically. So then you can, do the math, like that's about 25 plus internationally, I think. And I think actually we have an article. If you go a couple articles over, we have the international number as well. But actually, it's more like that. There we go. So if you scroll down a little bit on that one, the breakdown for Weapons is 27.5 internationally from 72 markets, as well as obviously 43.5 domestically. So $70 million. It's really good. Like, quite frankly, it's beyond good. It's amazing how well Weapons is doing. And if we go back to Threads for that Warner Brothers, what this means for Warner Brothers, John. Actually, not go back. Rather, if you go ahead a little bit, this now marks Warner Brothers' first time, actually, for any studio this year as well, but like certainly Warner Brothers' first time, and any studio ever, that they have 6 consecutive films earning 40 million plus at the opening weekend. 6 in a row, Warner Brothers have now got movies in a row, 6 in a row, opening weekend, made over 40 million, with the Minecraft movie 162.8 million, which I believe is still one of the biggest, if not the biggest, opening of the year. Sinners 48 million, Final Destination 51 million, F1, which is an Apple movie but Warner Bros. Distributed at 57 million, Superman with 125 million, which is a great kickoff for the DCU, then Weapons coming in at 42.5. And like you just highlighted, 50% of these are original movies. Superman, well, I don't know, Superman,
although
original, but
I do love this gentleman down here being like, you call mine, I think he meant Minecraft, although he typed in Minecraft,
correct.
And F1 original movies. F1, even though technically it's based on the sport, you could make the argument that, like, any football movie or baseball movie is not an original movie because it's based on something. So, but no, Minecraft isn't the original. It's Weapons, F1, and Sinners are the original movie, buddy. So, like, you got one, but you didn't catch the other two. So
yeah.
And
But
this one is wrong because Marvel, it's per year. It's all
per
in
year,
1
in
year.
one calendar year. That's what we're
Yes.
talking about. That's what we're talking. By the way, just want to quickly say we got Movie Spud in the chat. Hello, Movie Spud. We have Elite Easy joining in, and yeah, exactly. We're talking about Warner Brothers streak, and Manus Time is here. Manus Time also getting into the chat already. Hello, everybody. Watch the hot mic. Jeff Snyder literally threatened Gunn. I'll destroy your universe. Okay. Well, you know what? We'll have some Jeff Snyder stuff later in the show. But Movie Spud, seeing Weapons on Saturday and then seeing Freakier Friday on Sunday. Enjoyed them both. That is awesome, man. But John, just coming back to the weapons conversation, like obviously we went through the numbers. 42, actually the real number is 43.5. The final number is 43.5. Like what this means for Warner Brothers, like in general, just put it in context. This here from Joshua on Threads does a great job. A couple of years ago, Warner Brothers was literally turning into the joke of the industry. They lost Christopher Nolan. They pretty much lost Denis Villeneuve, like almost. Like at this point, Denis Villeneuve, I think if he got an offer from another studio, he might actually step up. Like he's already gonna go for Amazon MGM Studios with James Bond. The only reason he seems to be around at Warner Brothers is because he loves Dune, right?
Yeah, but even then,
not to
after
mention,
Messiah, well, Dune Part 3, he's probably
yeah,
going to be gone because even he
gone.
said Part 3 is going to be his last Dune movie and give the reins to a younger, fresher filmmaker
Yeah.
to do.
And-
if Dune Messiah does well, and to
Right.
do later on, do Children of Dune and God
All
Emperor
that,
of
yeah.
Dune, Chapter House Dune, and if they want to do all the Frank Herbert and non-Frank Herbert Dune movie books, then
I mean, so
we'll
far,
see.
like we have seen one spinoff or a prequel to Dune that was not directed by. I mean, it was for TV, but I don't know if without Denis Villeneuve the franchise does as well. But like the point is, Christopher Nolan left. Denis Villeneuve was not happy. Legendary, the movie studio, production studio behind all those big movies, including back in the day the Dark Knight movies too. That studio had went and tied up with Universal instead, and they were basically billions of dollars in debt, but they
DCU
came to
was
dumping them off.
fucking dog shit. So
It was dying a slow death, and now, like in 2025, a couple of years, more than a couple of years, you could say 3 to 4. I forget what the year was when Discovery closed the deal, but it's been less than 5 years, right? And it's only been a couple of years since James Gunn and Peter Safran stepped in for DC, for example, and then so many other changes across. They hired new heads for Warner Brothers Pictures. Obviously, this created the DC studios. New Line Cinema has been reorganized. I mean, Warner Brothers Animation, while they aren't really part of the current streak, they are also, kind of starting from scratch. So Warner Brothers has gone from being the absolute joke of the industry to now owning the box office. The first studio, like I said earlier, in history to drop 6 consecutive films, with debuting at the opening weekend of at least a $40 million box office. And the lowest being, I think, if you go back to the other list, the lowest I think was Final Destination, Bloodlines, like that. I think is the other Threads one. Yeah, well, actually, not even. It's Weapons is the lowest opening and even that is at 43.5 million. So you put all those numbers together. Weapons clearly outperforming, expectations right off the bat. It overtakes a Disney 4-quadrant family-oriented comedy that's a legacy sequel, and it just extends, the streak that Warner Brothers is on as a whole. And I'm talking Warner Brothers Discovery, including DC Studios, Warner Brothers Pictures, and New Line Cinema. What are your thoughts on this box office weekend and Weapons performance overall? And how do you see this from a big picture perspective with regards to just, where is Warner Brothers headed? Like, are they doing all the right stuff at this point? Which, you tell us.
It seems like it. Like, honestly, Warner Bros. Could be back in black over here if they just get over their fucking hate boner for animation and stop deleting all this crap and then put Cat in the Hat.
Thank you. 2022 was
it's
the
like,
day. Yeah.
come on. But I think this might be the sign of it getting truly better now. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, David Zaslav is gonna fucking run this company into the ground, blah 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 blah, all this other shit. But I mean, money talks. Clearly, he's fucking doing something right. Like, I'm not gonna say he's the fucking next Messiah or anything, but clearly he's doing shit that's making Warner Brothers fucking money. So, yeah, I think it's safe to say that we're gonna be they're gonna stay around for a long time, and they're not gonna be sold off to Disney like a lot of fucking people wanted. So, you know,
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's not been a perfect year because like early in the year they had Alto Knights, they had Mickey 17. So it's not like Warner Brothers hasn't had their fair share of lows, if you were to call it. But compared to Disney, Warner Brothers is in a much better position. Like whereas Disney's struggling with some of their what you would otherwise call really big high potential franchises.
domestic is for the U.S. and Canada.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. By the way, Antonio's in the chat, Bass is here, and as well as Frankie's here, who actually saw Weapons on Saturday and probably his favorite movie of the year so far. That's awesome, man. If you haven't yet, check out our review on Friday, Frankie. I know you stepped away because we were talking spoilers, but feel free to go back and check that conversation out because now you can obviously add your comments and just get into the weeds of it with the movie. I've seen all kinds of memes online with Weapons, like that girl running in the movie. It's been fun to see that discourse around it. Yeah, well, I mean, look, despite the fact that Disney has a bigger footprint, which gives them a lot more margin for failure, you can tell over time if the trend continues, that's gonna be a problem for them. Yeah, well, yes, we are specifically talking domestic openings right now, because if you were to compare international openings, like that, it just varies too much. Like, for example, John, if you go back to that article in Deadline, the domestic, or actually the international opening one, you see, if you scroll down a little bit, and we'll talk about Jurassic World in a second, but for example, it's the very first section, actually. And if you zoom in a little bit, you could see the numbers, the number of markets just for two movies here, the two new movies of the weekend. Weapons opened in 72 markets internationally, and Freakier Friday opened in 46 markets. Now, they say material markets because there's a few small, territories that really won't make much of a difference at all. So, it's you could tell that the international box office opening weekends, it's hard to compare them apples to apples because movies will roll out at different pace and different sets of markets, but domestically, Warner Brothers obviously, and it's a Hollywood movie, it's an American movie studio, so that's why it matters more. That's why we usually talk about it. It's easier to compare. Yeah. Well, ESPN, are you talking about ESPN at the WWE? Because Warner Brothers, Disney. Oh, you mean Disney? Okay. Anyway, thank you for that, Antonio. But John, like overall, were you expecting Weapons to do as well as it has? And also, if you scroll up on this headline, I just want to get your take on this. Jurassic World is, we're going to be talking about crawling their way, movies crawling their way to my box office milestones in a bit. But Jurassic World has crossed 800 million worldwide. It's chugging along. Like, are you surprised? Because I mean, hey, it's like the last Jurassic World movie we didn't think was going to make $1 billion, and it messed around and still did it. Do you think Jurassic World Rebirth has any shot? I mean, at this point, we were thinking it was going to top out at 700 some odd million, and it's crossed 800. Like, and despite the fact that it's going to be releasing on digital soon, do you think it can get to, like, I don't know, 850, 900? Like, it's still making good money.
I think so. I think it might get to 850. I don't know about 900, but obviously we'll have to see. But yeah, this is good news. Good news for that. If you like that, maybe not because it's kind of dog shit, but like, box office achievement nonetheless. So that's something.
Yeah. By the way, guys, I know Movie Spud was talking about F1 as being his second favorite movie of the year. For me, it's my number one. I actually went and saw F1 a second time this weekend and had the most fun. And then, I popped on the PS5 and Fiona and I were playing F1 25 because why not? So I'm still, listening to the soundtrack every day, just breathing it in. Give me more of that Sunny Haze magic on the racetrack. Which, by the way, F1 is also doing really well for a movie that's been around as long at the box office. But yeah, it's overall, it's a good time to be a fan of the movies, right? Because like this time last year, we were like struggling for movies. It's like there's been some rough years since the pandemic, and we are now at a point where seemingly there's enough movies to go around. even when a movie is not necessarily the next big Marvel movie, there's still plenty of good movies coming out every weekend. So it's just good to see that. And you guys let us know in the comments down below. Are you surprised to see that Weapons won the weekend for Warner Brothers at the box office and continues what's now a 6 movies in a row streak of $40 million plus openings, which is no small, achievement, because this is the first time a studio has done that. Disney hasn't done that. Like, it's about consistency. Like, they might not all be $200 million, $150 million openings, but the fact that they're consistently doing as well as the floor is that high, and they're doing it with like horror movies, with comedies, with kids movies, with superhero movies. It's not, and it's not just one kind of movie. So that's particularly, I think, impressive. So yeah, exactly. The quality films, exactly, enterprising. Well, with that, guys, let us know in the comments down below what you think about Weapons. Did you go see it? Did you like it? What did you think about the box office achievement, that it opened to 43.5 million, above expectations, as well as the other movies? Like, have you seen Jurassic World Rebirth? Like, are you surprised that it's crawling its way past 800 million at this point? I mean, Superman still in the top 10, and Freakier Friday. Did you go see that? I think Liz is going to be talking about it later this week, so we'll get into it then. But you guys let us know in the comments down below. And in the meantime, John, we're going to move on to talking about some Superman magic, shall we? Because Superman, speaking of,
oh, you mean the biggest flop
way,
of the year? Like, it's not going to get 50 million. It's gonna suck dicks. It's gonna be the worst thing ever. Da, 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 da.
Well, it's certainly not doing any of that, because it's crossed a new milestone, John. You talked about it last week, so it's not something that was unexpected, but it's finally happened. It was on Sunday, over the course of this past weekend, that Superman flew past the 331.2 million mark domestically, which now puts it beyond Batman v Superman as the highest grossing film domestically at the box office featuring a Superman. So, of course, BVS, as in the name, had a Batman in it as well, which you would imagine would have done better, but we all know it wasn't ranked very highly by the fans. It wasn't rated very highly by the critics. However, Superman is doing a total 180 on both fronts. So are you surprised again that it's doing as well as it is domestically, despite the fact that it's not performing as well internationally?
I mean, yeah, domestically is kind of the more important one at this case. Even though we all thought that internationally it was going to do very well, turns out that's not the case. But now that we know, domestically, as long as it keeps making bank over there, because that's truly what matters in terms of this, because American hero, American audience, that kind of thing. So it was blessed from the start, blessed from the beginning, blessed on all fronts. And that's what we need, all of us. Anyway, yeah.
Well,
super flop, guys. It's gonna suck. It's just Guardians again. It's just Guardians of the Galaxy again. Da, 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 da.
By the way, let's kind of quickly, if you have the notebook open, John, let's kind of quickly walk through the number one more time, the calculation, right? Because Superman's budget was 225 million. This is after the tax rebates and the credits that they were able to pull in. And then the marketing budget, we estimated around 125 million. Like, that seems to be the number that I think, because we have seen numbers of 100 and 150. So we figured you split the difference, 125 million marketing budget, 225 million production budget. Now, usually the math ends up being, you put those two numbers together, you multiply it by 1.5 times, because that accounts for the money that the theaters will keep from all the ticket sales. And then basically what's left, when you do the math, that's what the profit margin for Superman would be. Now, 225 plus 125 equals 350 million. You multiply that by 1.5, the number you get is 525 million, meaning that would be the number where Superman would be profitable, 525 million. Right now, Superman is sitting at well above 650 million. So that means, now if you do a bit of basic subtraction, 525 minus 350, you're looking at 175 million. That's basically what the cost would be of distributing the movie in theaters for like AMC, Regal, that Cinemark. That's what they would take out. So that was the break-even point. meaning everything since 525 million is gravy. So, John, if you want to do some quick math for me, I don't know. I think Superman right now is sitting at like what 655 million. If I do the live numbers, like 650 minus 525. Superman has made actually. Let's see if worldwide. If I do the latest update, it's not 650. I'm misquoting that actually. It's 579. So 579, it's still, if you do the math, 579 minus 525, that's a profit of 54 million. Am I right on that math? That's not bad. Plus, we're not counting for the merchandise yet. We're not counting for, any of the other post-theatrical sales that it's going to do, which would be really good. And not to mention
the
John
Amazon numbers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And then I think I just sent you a link. I don't know if you're able to open that. That page shows us the day-by-day breakdown of what Superman makes at the box office. And I apologize. I said 650 earlier, so I know somebody's going to come at me for that. But yeah, all the companies they advertise in the movie, the brand placement, the ads that they have, the brand placement, the product, all the marketing that they do, that's really what helps to mitigate the budget, because even if they spent 350 365 on it, they were able to make a lot of that money back, Frankie. So it's a good point. But yeah, I mean, John, I think if you're able to open the link that I just sent you,
where
we can go through it's in the StreamYard chat. We can go through the day-by-day breakdown, because I think on Friday I was talking about how with Fantastic Four, for example, the problem seems to be that on a day-to-day basis, it's dropped off farther than Superman was in the same time during its run. Like in, third, fourth weekend, where Fantastic Four is right now, Superman was doing a lot better. And Fantastic Four right now, unfortunately, just is not doing nearly as well. So yeah, if you hit the box office and scroll down on a day-to-day basis, Superman is still performing, and making more than $1 million a day, which is impressive. Like, you look at the total number of days it's been in theaters. Now it's been in theaters for a full month, a full 31-day calendar month. And it's still, during the week, making no less than $1 million, $1.5 million. Over the weekend, John, it made, what was it, like, let's do them rough at like around $10 million, close to it domestically. That's still really, really, really impressive.
Yeah.
And if you compare that to Fantastic Four, which, let me see if I can find the Fantastic Four number, like it's just not holding up nearly as well. And that's really problematic, which we'll get into in a little bit from now. But if you go back to the Threads link, John, that we had, this now confirms that we are going to get a 45-day theatrical window for Superman, because by the time it hits streaming, which we now know is confirmed to be August 26th, you guys were mentioning that, we will get a couple of more weekends out of Superman before we have it available to watch at home. Yes, exactly. Enterprising. I do agree that's part of the reason for F4. But John, 45 days after its theatrical release, which is what was reported
initially, and then they're like, no, it's 2 weeks earlier, and now they're like, no, it's the original thing. It's like, all right.
Exactly.
But it's still gonna be in theaters. I think James Gunn said it's gonna be in theaters until September, I think.
Yeah,
so,
which like, it makes sense, right? Like, I think we all expected it to be kind of in the same boat. Like, where Jurassic World is gonna be on digital later this week, but they're not taking it out of movie theaters because people are still gonna go see it. Especially there's parts of the world where it won't be available to like rent or be on digital. Like, we're just talking about America right now. So in certain other countries, it may take a little longer to get to digital distribution. But James Gunn, of course, we'll get back to the Fantastic Four comparison later on when we talk about Fantastic Four in more detail. But John, James Gunn was asked about the profitability equation that we were just going through. And the idea that was being floated around on the internet, if you click on that second graphic, the conversation that he was having, or basically he was responding to a fan, asking him, hey, is it true? People keep saying 650 million is what's needed to break even or even be a success. Do you really need Superman to do that? Because a lot of other people are saying it's already a huge success because people love the movie, and it's not like it's made chumps change James Gunn responded saying, absolutely false. Anyone saying that doesn't have an understanding of the film business, and we would be idiots to make a first in the franchise film that would need to make that much to be profitable. John, your thoughts on this comment? Because we've been talking about it from all different angles, whether it's merchandise, from all the branding stuff, and even like post-theatrical money that it will make. But just even the box office alone, like 650 seems, we did the math, like that seems a bit high. Like, what are your thoughts on what James Gunn said?
Yeah, no, I agree. People are dumb. Especially Jeff Snyder, because fuck that guy. Honestly, I think we need to like end the show every day with, and remember, fuck Jeff Snyder. I don't care if it gets us demonetized. Fuck it, I don't care.
Tony is here, by the way. Tony Figure Drawing is here. Yeah, Freakier Friday could. I think they were making it as a Disney Plus movie, and then decided that there would be enough money making potential. That's why they put it in theaters. Tony,
and they were wrong. Same with Blue Beetle.
No,
regardless of quality, just like when you're making something for streaming, and you think, "Oh, this can make money." Not everybody can be a Moana 2, and even then, Moana 2 is apparently not a very good movie anyway. So it's either one of two things. It's either the movie is good, but it still feels like a streaming movie, and it won't make money, or it makes a shit ton of money, and it's just really bad. So it's just like there's no in between.
Well, what I was gonna say is kind of the opposite, because I'm like, look, it's making more money than it would have if it was straight to streaming. So I, for one, think they made the right call, because the amount of money it's made is, like it's not like blowing the doors out of the box office, but it's making enough money to probably justify its budget. Like if they can even break even with this movie, like Freakier Friday, I'm fine with that. I just think the expectations there are different, because I don't think anybody expected Freakier Friday to be, a Top Gun Maverick level of legacy sequel. So yeah, I'm okay with that. By the way, guys, if you are watching live, it'd be appreciated if you hit the like button. Just a small little click for you guys. It helps us out a ton, and we do appreciate it, of course. And you only have to hit the like button if you're enjoying the show. If you're not enjoying the show, hit the dislike button. We'll take that as well. But yeah, a lot of people in the chat, Steven, don't like Jeff Snyder. You don't have to go very far up the chat to figure that out. Yeah, same with Lilo.
Jeff Snyder is a blight on movie and movie news information, whatever that is, scooping, whatever it is. But he is a blight.
Yeah,
he's a blight on human existence. No,
I just don't understand why he's taking it so personally with the whole James. I feel like he feels slighted, because when someone would obviously a studio head, the credibility of somebody with who's a studio head in Hollywood directly contradicts what you're saying as a movie insider, then it really does affect literally your credibility, and therefore your ability to make money doing what you do. So I do understand that he's got defensive.
But here's the thing: it's like, how about don't make shit up?
Yeah,
here's an idea. Like, don't base your entire net of income on making stupid bullshit lies and rumors about movies. How about that? Staying.
Well, Figure Drawing making a lot of good points. The whole thing of it's for the intended audience. I was talking to Fiona about it yesterday. The whole idea that every movie is made for the audience, that it's intended for. And as long as it connects with that audience, that's fine. Bigger movies like F1 will appeal to a wider audience by design.
No. Jeff Snyder needs a fucking black eye. He needs to just get hit. Like, I think he needs to understand he went way too far in life, not getting decked in the face. And that just needs to happen. I'm not saying kill the man. Obviously, that's extreme. I'm not like the guy. I'm not that cruel, or I wish death upon somebody because he's an asshole. No, but just a swift, maybe even not a punch, maybe just a swift slap across the mouth. Because clearly his daddy didn't do it enough. So I'm just saying, I think he needs as Sean Connery would say, he needs a little slap, and then just
Yeah. Okay, and then to be fair, Fiona was asking why so many movies are made. And I was kind of explaining the idea of they will justify the budget for a movie, the reason for a movie to exist with what is its financial potential. Because ultimately Hollywood is a business, right? There's a reason why Weapons was made for a $38 million budget versus, $150 million for like an F1, which actually they made that for way more than that. But, because they expect one movie to make more money than the other. And then, as long as you can justify the audience is intended for, and usually you have to kind of show comps to like previous movies that have done similar numbers. Because, when you pitch a movie, you're talking about, I don't know, like Tron Ares. What is it? It's basically Morbius times Jared Leto in live action. Terrible example, but like you pitch a movie and then you show the numbers off and then hope that the movie does as well as it does. Then you have like Roland Emmerich who's done a ton of shitty sci-fi action movies and everybody stopped giving him money. So eventually you run out of room to con studios and financiers for money. But then on the other hand, you can have a Superman, and James Gunn probably now has even more freedom to do what he wants to do with Superman and the rest of the DCU, I should say. We had a pretty good day. I had a pretty good day. I don't know, John, did you have a pretty good day? Steven's asking.
I wasn't very productive, but I had a good day.
Yeah, there you go. John, so much you would pull.
That's what I said. I think I said that like on Friday, where like just like what Uwe Boll does and just beats the shit out of his critics in a boxing match. Not saying Uwe Boll is right, because obviously Uwe Boll is also a prime level asshole, but
Well, we have Superwash in the chat. We also have, of course, Brogu's here. Brogu, how are you? How's your younger brother Grogu? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Tony saw that match, apparently. That's great. That's great. But yeah, I mean, ultimately with Superman, 650, James Gunn has consistently said we don't need to make that much money for it to be profitable. And if you go back quickly to the notebook, we'll wrap up this segment. We know that they needed to make like somewhere in the neighborhood of 525 million to break even. The reports said right when the movie came out that Warner Brothers were expecting 500 million, and that was like they would be happy. And it's crossed well past that. It's at 579. It's working its way up to 600. If you, I think if you go up to the comicbook.com article, they talk about how the potential for Superman doesn't feel like it's going to maybe get to the original 700 million. It probably doesn't even do like the 640 to 680. I think we're looking at now a number that is probably closer to like 600, maybe 620 at max, which is still not bad at all. Like I think that would be still a good number. Like it's not going to beat Man of Steel, but we've talked about Man of Steel came out at a very different time. Where the first Suicide Squad movie is almost universally hated on, whether it's for fun's sake or people actually thought it was a terrible movie. It's a movie that made $750 million. I think it made like 749, something like that. But if we actually have the chart right there, it made. Wait, is it in this chart? Yes, it is. Okay, it made 749.2 million. That's how much the first Suicide Squad movie made. And do you guys remember that as a good movie? No, that movie actually made most of that money in its opening weekend worldwide. And so that's the error. So it's hard to compare the two different times, like 12 years apart, different time for superhero movies. Superhero movies aren't a guarantee at the box office. I feel like a broken record because we talk about this like every day, but that's, 620, like Figure Drawing is saying, it's sensible. It is at like around 580 right now. So to make another 40 million over the course of the next couple of weeks, that would not be a bad, number at all. So yeah, Manos time. We do all imagine sometimes, John might be yelling 1A. I need to make, we can turn that into a meme, John. I just need to motion track your face onto Lex Luthor's face in the movie, and then maybe do some like voice magic. And yeah, we can make that happen. We can make that happen. Anyway. Yeah, you probably do have Lex Luthor's manual. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. But hey, I think that we've kind of squeezed the juice out of this orange as far as Superman goes. It's now crossed the domestic box office of Batman v Superman, and it's well on its way to crossing a couple of more before hopefully its run is done. I think Aquaman is still further up the list, so there's a couple other movies that it can get past. But Superman is making good money. It's profitable. James Gunn has once again debunked that 650 is what it needs to make. And with that, guys, please do 1A that like button. And if you're enjoying the show, stick around because we have a lot more DC coming up in a moment. But before we get to DC, I just wanted to quickly address Grogu saying, I'm fine. Grogu's doing great. We went and saw Superman and Fantastic Four. I think Grogu liked Superman a little better because he's having a Pedro Pascal overdose since they work together. That's actually a really good point. You know what? I didn't think of it that way, but I should have, because yeah, Grogu probably gets a lot of daddy on a day-to-day basis anyway. So he's like, I'm tired of that. Anyway, we got to talk about some Marvel news now. Of course, over the weekend, the filming for Spider-Man Brand New Day continued in Glasgow, which is a beautiful city. It's hosted a lot of movie shoots there, especially in the superhero genre, John. So if you want to move over and talk about that for a second, they put out a new teaser over the weekend where it wasn't so much a teaser as it was like a behind-the-scenes featurette. But I think you had a chance to take a look at this. You see Destin Daniel Cretton, you see Tom Holland walking about the streets of Glasgow, first time getting
working on 2 Marvel movies, and my boy is already gray as fuck. Which, like, fair.
What I love about this is that they're really getting ahead of all the paparazzi getting shots, and they're just like, we're gonna give you all the official stuff. I feel like this is not with Marvel movies. This wasn't as common before, although I know this is technically like a Sony and Marvel movie, like it's a combination. But I almost feel like, and again, I'm not saying they're copying James Gunn's strategy with what he did with Superman, because James Gunn wasn't the first one to make all of those things public. But we do also have like the Russos trying to completely keep as much of Avengers Doomsday secret as they can, whereas here, I mean, and for different reasons, because like they don't want to reveal surprise cameos and shit. But what are your thoughts overall on everything we've been seeing from the set? Because now you get an even clearer look at the suit. You're seeing the suit in action more from an official set photographer, and then look at the preview of some of these scenes. You can almost imagine, I bet you some VFX artists on the internet already went through and painted out the wires and the cameras, and so we can get a preview of what this might look like in the actual movie, although the camera angle will be different. Your thoughts on this, right. And then again, just overall, how excited are you for Spider-Man Brand New Day right now?
Honestly, this might be the case. It might bite me in the ass later because it is Marvel, and I had low expectations for Fantastic Four, and those were kind of met. This might be the case of like, the more we talk about it, the more excited I get, because I was not at all excited for Superman when James Gunn was attached. Was like when he was greenlit with him directing. I'm like, oh, this is probably not going to be very good. And at first I was like, but then we talked about it a lot. I mean, a lot. So, and the practicality, the groundedness of it, that gets me excited. So I think hopefully talking about it, even though we're not going to be talking about it as much as DCU projects, because obviously this is DCU Daily, but I can see myself getting more and more excited for this. Also, to whoever said, I think it was Enterprising that said, who was it? Yes, no, I don't have Lex Luthor's manual for mastering hatership next to my bed. It's Stephen King's The Long Walk. I still need to finally bite the bullet and actually start reading this. Hopefully I can finish it before the movie comes out, but I have been horrible with reading. But, I want to try and give this a read. I also have The Running Man. I'm going to try and read that maybe after the movie comes out, because I've heard it's kind of a boring book. So this I'm excited about. My friend read this already, and he read it way before, then he read it again, and he said it was really good. So I'm like, all right, let's see. So yeah, not the Master of Hatership, just Stephen King book, and maybe a notebook, but that's it. But yeah, hope you like that. But yeah, this is definitely very exciting, and I hope to get more and more excited because I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man is the thing that got me into, like, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies were the thing that got me into comic book stuff. Actually, I might, let's see, hang on here. Do I have them, or do I have them up there? I think I do have them up there. Hang on a sec. I gotta jump up here. There we go. These are, boom. I found these like years ago, and I was like, you know what? Before my mom throws them out or donates them, I don't have the mask for Green Goblin anymore. Oh, and he's very dusty. I don't know what happened to the mask for that, but I do still have my Spider-Man action figures, and I have Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin. Just no mask, unfortunately.
Thank you, MTG. By the way, that was a fun Batman fan casting on Friday.
I'm glad. But yes, I don't really play with them. I just have them on the shelf. But yeah, great stuff. And the head swivels a little bit too much. There he is. I actually had to paint in the eye on one of these because it got chipped off. But yeah, see, shows how much I love Spider-Man. And then I think, what are the ones that I own? I think I have Into the Spider-Verse, but I don't think I have anything else. But I love Spider-Man. I hope the movie's great. I'm gonna try and maybe have him maybe try to do a background thing. But yeah, do love him. I hope it's good, and I want it to be good very well. I don't play with toys. I just have them on my shelf. They were kind of, stuffed in the back a little bit. But yeah, I don't think I ever dressed up as Spider-Man. I dressed up as a Power Ranger, even though I have never watched a single episode of Power Rangers. But that's what that was. Good times. Anyway. Anywho. Great stuff. Yeah. I don't know what else to talk about.
Well, when does it actually come out? It's a good question from Fiona, actually.
July 31st, 2026, we're going to have Holland-a-thon because, the Odyssey is supposed to come out, I think, 2 weeks before this. So, yeah, good stuff. Very exciting. Hopefully, Destin Daniel Craig does a good job. I've heard, mixed things about Shang-Chi. Some people said it was really good. Some people said it was really bad. So, we will see, but I do hope he, does whatever is necessary for this character because the animated show surprised a lot of people. So, but apparently that the set video, there was the set video, and then apparently MJ is, according to a scooper, not just Snyder, but still not a great one, but My Time to Shine, who is also notoriously very wrong most of the time. But recent set photos appeared to show Zendaya back as MJ. Yeah, no fucking shit. We did that. We know that. So we'll see. Obviously, it doesn't confirm if she's going to have a big role or not, but he's just saying she's going to have a big role, which I can imagine she'll have a decent sized role. Just I just want at least one movie where she doesn't know who he is. I would prefer the next trilogy to be, and then the end game is she finally remembers at the end of Spider-Man 6, if we do eventually get there with Tom Holland, and they can kiss, make up, and have
this is the rumor basically,
we'll
like you mentioned. I was just gonna say, My Time to Shine, they don't get everything right. Once in a while they will get, not once in a while, but every few things they will be on the point about. So far we have been expecting that MJ is going to have a very small role because that's what we've been told. But the some of the stuff they've been shooting out in Glasgow, it seems like maybe MJ has a more significant role. But do you think My Time to Shine means it more literally, it's the number of scenes, or do you think it's thematically MJ is a bigger part of the movie than we realize in terms of what she means as a character? We might not see her in as much screen time. I'm wondering though, what if we were meant to take that literally, or even if it is true at all, that's I guess it's
I don't think it is because My Time to Shine. But as long as she doesn't know who she is, I think it should be fine. Obviously they're gonna fucking include Zendaya because it's fucking Zendaya. Everybody loves Zendaya except for the people that claim everybody hates Zendaya, but those are assholes. Those are the people that are everybody is grossed out by Pedro Pascal, even though everyone literally loves to fucking be around him because he's actually a semi-decent human being. But everybody, but he's he's in too many projects, so everybody hates him now. But Of
I
course,
do
like,
love the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, by the way.
I
I know,
do.
John,
He's
you like him
great.
too,
The
yeah.
movies could have been better.
Yeah. And the director of Shang-Chi, of course, Destin Daniel Cran, is the one directing Enterprising, like the Spider-Man movie. So bring him back. I'm totally with that. Marissa Tomei as Aunt May might come back for I don't know if she would come back for Secret Wars unless it's more of like a time travel sequence. But yeah, everybody hits Chris. Thank you. Okay. The other thing they were meant, I think, what was it? Christian Harloff the other day was saying how Sadie Sink might be playing Gwen Stacy, which we talked about briefly. So, I mean, then I'm wondering, like, if you have a Gwen Stacy, but then you can have both. We have seen that with Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, but I think it's too early to tell which direction they're going in. But yeah,
I
it's
hope
hard to
she's
kind of
either a
make
new character that doesn't amount to
much of
much,
this.
or they're just gonna have a new love interest, but like in another movie and not right now.
Yeah. Well, Brogu's favorite Spider-Man is Tobey Maguire. That's perfect. That's a perfectly good option. By the way, I wanted to say hello to Jordan in the chat. Hello, Jordan. How are you doing today? And thank you to everybody who was watching. And whether you guys watched live or after the fact, the Batman fan casting. I mean, we're trying to do more of those fan cast Fridays. So do let us know if you're a fan of those fan cast Fridays. But as far as the Spider-Man story goes, there's a rumor out there that MJ might have a bigger role in the movie than we previously anticipated. Do you believe that? And then also, what do you make up of all of the behind the scenes looks we're getting at the suit with Tom Holland? It's in the middle of daylight in wonderful Glasgow. And then also, we still have to figure out what that symbol on the tank is. Like, is that something that they're throwing us off with, or if it's actually going to be connected to the character from the comics? Like, when will John Bernthal show up on set? We're going to be following all the news from Spider-Man Brand New Day. You let us know what you think about it. And with that, guys, we do have a little more, to get into from the world of Marvel, because John, basically, Fantastic Four is dropping fast at the box office, and also. There is a rumor out there that we might know who, if you remember from a while, I think it's been a while, we were getting these script leaks with like the scene headings from Avengers Doomsday scripts, and even some outlines and drawings of some of the sets that they were filming at. And we know most of that's being done on sound stages, but on the scene headings, they were listing them as Iron Fist house, Luke Cage house. Everybody was like, I doubt Luke Cage is going to play such a big role in this movie. Well, now there's a rumor about who Luke Cage was a code name for. So we'll get into that. But before we do, John, the first thing I wanted to start off with on this Marvel story is Fantastic Four, the movie that is in theaters right now. It's now grossed $430 million at the box office with a budget of over $200 million. So you add the marketing budget into that, you're kind of looking at a similar calculus to what Superman needed to make to be technically at its break-even point. And right now, it's looking like it might not get there, John. That's the problem. Like Manos Time is saying, all the way from Paris, Fantastic Four ain't doing so fantastic. And that was a Fiona cameo. It's all good. But are you like just surprised at this point? Because if you go to the numbers article, John, real quick, I think I sent you the link in StreamYard. There we go. If you scroll down to the weekend numbers, like instead of the weekend box office at the very bottom, they don't have the final numbers for the third weekend, which we just went by, but I do believe the final weekend numbers for this past weekend, came in at another, almost 60% drop for Fantastic Four, and it's just not looking good. Like is it something that you're surprised to see where it's dropping off as much as it is? Like it dropped like 66% from opening weekend to second weekend. And then from last week to this weekend, it's dropped another 60%, making only 15.5 million in its third weekend. So with that, if you go to the comic book article after this, John, it's a question of, is it superhero fatigue that's causing Fantastic Four to be where it is? Because right now, the predictions are that Fantastic Four might be finishing at barely the $500 million mark, like 490, 510. Are you surprised? Because, I mean, Superman, we know, is going to come in at lower than expected from when it first debuted. It's not going to get to Man of Steel. It's probably going to finish around 600, 620 maybe. But that's still a good number for Superman. But like for Fantastic Four, which they spent just as much money making and probably just about the same amount of money marketing, it might not even get to 500 million. Like, it's struggling. Are you surprised by this? And what do you think is the cause? Is it because indeed superhero fatigue is real, or is there a more nuanced, answer for that question?
I think it's just because both with DC, I will say this with the more concrete one with DC, because I feel like we assume something about Marvel, and then it's like it's a complete 180, and then then it does this thing, then it does that thing. Well, with Superman, it's yes, that is true that there is the idea of superhero fatigue. Yes, there's more seen as saturated. While 2013, they were more at like the peak. While there's too much of them and they're not as good. The idea that people's purchasing power has decreased. You have the struggle at the international box office because they didn't have that initially. Now they kind of have that, whether it's because China has moved on from us in general or because of what's going on politically and economically. I don't know, but there is that as well. And the streaming wars, and it was released after like 5 flops of like DC, like the entirety of 2023, Joker Folie à Deux, all of which were flops. So there was that. And now DC has a tarnished image because the DCU, in the people's eyes, in the court of public opinion, as Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock would say in No Way Home, is, oh, they're a failure. DCEU sucked, blah, 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 all that shit. So there's that. Then, with the exception of the Batman. Obviously, there is the Batman, but that was the exception, not the rule. And, there is the idea that it did, maybe this is like pushing it, but it did premiere after Jurassic World. And that is going to get the most money, but that's, that isn't tied to a very American hero. People like dinosaurs, even though pretty much everyone has like stated that, the franchise is garbage. They just like seeing dinosaurs. So it's gonna be getting almost $1 billion. So there is that. But like, here's the thing as well.
Superhero fatigue. That's a great take.
I don't know. It's just like, and I think Fantastic Four, the reason that's not doing well is like, I think Marvel kind of bet a little high. Not like, oh yeah, all the coins in. I think they kind of need to understand what James Gunn is understanding about DC. DC is a tarnished brand. It is, and he understood that, and that's why I think even David Zaslav understood, like, this isn't going to make $1 billion. We have to like slowly crawl out of the hole. Like, why do we fall surf so we can pick ourselves back up? DC is in the picking ourselves back up phase. Like they're crawling not to the money, they're crawling to the goodwill among the movie going audience, which is already a struggle because of all the things I mentioned. So there is that. I think Kevin Feige needs to understand that better than he already does, because he does understand, yes, we were focused on quantity instead of quality, but I think they were blaming the TV side of things a little bit too much.
I think that's part of it, but like,
that is part of it. I'm not going to lie.
There's other
reasons part of it.
Yes.
However, I think he needs to understand that Marvel is now a tarnished brand. It has been a tarnished brand since, I want to say, No Way Home. Like, No Way Home was the last super duper mega hit for them, and the last like really great movie. And I mean, sure, you do have like the exceptions, like Wakanda Forever was pretty well liked. That was like mixed to positive. Guardians 3 was pretty mixed to positive, but they never got the universal acclaim, big budget money that they are hoping for. Yeah, exactly. Exactly what Tony was saying. It can't always be $1 billion. And I think people need to understand that now. Yes, did Lilo and Stitch make $1 billion? Of course, but that had a lot of things going for it. Disney is kind of tarnished, but not to the point of, that they'll ruin stuff. But even then, that's still like it's a 1 in a million shot. They need to understand that a lot of studios, in the eyes of fans and maybe even in the eyes of general audiences, that things are tarnished now. They're not gonna go back to the way it was before, and they need to rein it in. And I think Kevin Feige needs to understand that. And I think they also need to understand that this isn't gonna be you can't go by the seat of your pants. And sure, I think, and that's why I said Kevin Feige partially understands that. The reason I say partially is because they are still filming, even though they don't have a fully developed script. That's the thing that showcases.
By the way,
they might
rumor.
They maybe learned a lesson, but not a total lesson.
Exactly, because remember when he did that whole event, there's actually a great article in the Wrap that kind of breaks this down, and you guys can go check it out because it really talks about what is the reason behind these movies not being such a surefire hit anymore at the box office. And part of it is I feel like Kevin Feige still maybe drinks a little bit too much of his own Kool-Aid, because he's like, the Marvel way works, and so we're gonna.
It doesn't anymore though. It
but
doesn't.
We're not gonna change it. So it's just I do feel
the
like maybe
problem is. I remember Kevin Feige saying this years ago, and this, I think, is the biggest issue next to not having a fully developed script. The reason that you could have a not fully developed script back in during phase 1, during the Iron Man days, is you had Robert Downey Jr. You have him as Doom, yes, but in terms of Iron Man, he needs to make those he made the non-script phase work, but then they're like, oh, our Iron Man movie was a super mega hit that everybody loved. Let's just do that over and over again. Can't do that anymore. So there's that, first off. Number 2, they always watch the same movie every time before developing a film, and that is Superman the movie. Now, here's the thing. That's a great movie. I think most people will not deny that Superman the movie from 1978 is an amazing comic book film and a good template. However, the reason that there is superhero fatigue is because you're using the same template. Imagine if every movie, they're like, I want to create the next greatest movie ever made. And every filmmaker had that idea in their head, and every single filmmaker watched The Godfather. Imagine if you got the same movie over and over again, and it's just don't get me wrong, is The Godfather one of, if not the greatest film ever made? Probably. However, if you use that one movie as a template over and over and over again, people are going to get sick of seeing the same movie over and over again because you're using the same template. The reason that Together and Weapons are great for different reasons is because both of those movies and both of those filmmakers had very different inspirations for their films. Body horror and horror mystery, very different genres, very different subgenres of horror, and they both had different influences. And you know what? Both are great for very different reasons. We're going to use Superman every single time, that gets boring. You can't use Superman as a template for your Spider-Man movie, and then for your Shang-Chi movie, and then for your Marvels movie, and then for this, that, and the other thing. You need to have that's why, say what you will about Joss Whedon, say what you will about James Gunn. They are filmmakers at heart who understand that they needed to have different influences. Like Joss Whedon said that a lot of his influences was Empire Strikes Back or Godfather Part 2, where we have to do things bigger and better, but understand that they have to progress and develop. That's why Age of Ultron, in my opinion, was a great movie. Yes, it had a lot of problems, but it tried to do something different and unique from the first movie. That, and James Gunn said, well, Star Wars and all these other movies and Hidden Fortress, all this other stuff were influences on Guardians, not just Superman, because you got to understand It needs to feel different. It needs to do different things. That's why it works. That's why people like those movies. You can't just use the same thing over and over again because it just gets tiring. That's the main problem. Those are the two biggest problems with, with MCU specifically. And you can tie it back to James Gunn, ironically enough, because he said time and time again, you need to have a finished script. We need to have a finished draft. If the script is not great enough, we're not going to do it. That's what happened to allegedly Sergeant Rock, although we don't know the actual film. That's just what
he never
people
said which
it
one.
was.
We
But
sort
that's
of
the
can
one that
assume
was
that.
like recently, not. That was the recently the one that was shut down, and then a couple weeks later, the story comes out. It's like, we had to, it's like that's what it was. It was probably Sergeant Rock.
Although he said that it's not completely dead. It's
not dead, but
just
Luca
not gonna
Guadagnino's
be-
version with the
Exactly.
Challengers writer is dead.
That
So
version is dead, yeah.
there's that. And then he's a filmmaker that understands you have to have different influences. Yeah, the Guardians trilogy is the same trilogy with the same characters, but he had different influences for different movies. Now I can't name them all off the top of my head, but I was reading about them, and he, did various things because he understood that yes, every movie needs to feel different from the last, and that's what made it work. And James Gunn understands that. Say what you will about him, say that he's the second coming of like the devil incarnate, he's the worst thing since cancer, he makes Hitler look like Gandhi, whatever the fuck you want to say about this guy, then he like, say what you will, all the things, and people have, but there are some things he really understands that makes me intrigued for the DCU as a franchise and the DC Studios as a studio producing all these films. Yeah. Because even though I'm not hugely excited for Supergirl, I'm still intrigued enough because I like the character and I like aspects of that, and I like what James Gunn is doing with the company. And then same with Lanterns and Peacemaker and stuff that I'm not as excited for, but I'm like, I fucking love what this guy is understanding when it comes to fucking movies. So that's what makes me intrigued. I'm more intrigued with his plan than maybe necessarily the movies themselves. Maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know. But like, he gets it. Like at the very end of this really long filibuster rant, and don't forget, sorry, Dan, I'll have you talk in a second. I'm just saying at the very end of it all, he understands, and he's like, I'm not going to make those same mistakes. I'm going to create the DCU in the direction that I think it needs to, and a quality direction that'll say one giant screw you to superhero fatigue and make things better for the superhero industry in the future. Anyway, I'm done.
Yeah, no, I think, well, a lot of good points, and everybody in the chat pointing out so many other reasons why, right? Like there's more competition from like video games, from other streaming, movies, and just in general, the marketplace was more crowded when Fantastic Four came out, with Superman already in theaters, Jurassic World, F1, so many other movies. And you're also looking at like the tail end of the summer now, like more kids will be in school, fewer people going to the movies. So there's all kinds of reasons why. I mean, and it's just also, I think one of the things you guys mentioned with like Kevin Feige, and I think when he talked about how, actually, before I make that point, just want to quickly say The Stealer, yes, absolutely, for a 3-hour-long movie to make like close to $800 million for the first in the franchise, yes. The Batman Part 2, yeah, I mean, what the first one accomplished, if the second one is as good, if not better, easily $1 billion film. I'm calling it now. And yeah, there wasn't as much competition for the Batman at the time either, so that helped it because it came out in like that late spring, early summer months. But as far as like the Kevin Feige part of the argument, John, I think it was worrying to me when Kevin Feige especially pointed out during that whole press event in July leading up to Fantastic Four's release, and he talked about how his takeaway, seemingly his biggest takeaway from Captain America: Brave New World flopping or just not being as successful, was because he was like, because we didn't have Chris Evans in it. And I was like, if that's really your biggest takeaway,
that's not what it is.
Then I think you learned the absolute wrong lesson. And You know, like, guys, by the way, thank you, Steven, for sharing what you're eating, pork skin and beans. That sounds amazing. We got Kyle in the chat. Jalen is here as well. Hello, Jalen. Yeah, but I mean, look, I just think that, Kevin Feige learned the wrong lesson about, hey, oh yeah, Captain America 4 did not do as well because, quite simply, Chris Evans wasn't in the movie. We think that's the reason. Well, turns out, John, that Kevin Feige might be on his way to remedying that problem, because now we have a rumor, and this comes to us from comicbookmovie.com, where essentially they've been pointing at this again, it's a rumor, but they were pointing to this idea, and this is not the first time this rumor has surfaced, because this movie Doomsday has been filming for a while. Yep. But as I mentioned at the very top of the segment, there were like some leaked script pages and some scene headings and drawings of the houses where they're apparently filming these movies on sound stages, and several of them said Luke Cage's house. We all thought it was going to be a code name for somebody else, and well, if Kevin Feige learned the lesson that we needed some more Chris Evans in Captain America 4, well, it looks like they might be solving that problem, because apparently, according to this rumor, again coming to us from My Time to Shine, who don't get it right every time, apparently the Luke Cage code name is a stand-in for Chris Evans' Captain America, potentially coming back from, I guess, his life in the 40s, where he eventually ends up at the end of Avengers Endgame with Peggy Carter. John, like, do you believe this? Like, it's also like, they're talking about, does that mean the house that was listed as the Iron Fist house, like, who does that belong to? Like, what do you think they're about? I don't know, the credibility of this rumor, because it's not the first time that's come up, and the fact that it's come up a few times now, this far apart, and from different people, and again, not like from Variety, Deadline, or Hollywood Reporter, so take it with a grain of salt. But do you really believe that's the direction they're going in? They're bringing back the big hitters. They're bringing back Chris Evans' Captain America, because without him, Captain America, the movies can't do well, and apparently Avengers movies, you already know RDJ is back, so why not bring the whole gang back together again? What do you think?
I don't want to believe it, but it wouldn't shock me that they would do this. I know that there have been rumors that Captain Hydra is going to be in it, and Maestro Hulk, or whatever the fuck it is, that these characters, that evil versions of characters, are going to come in, because you have evil RDJ as Doctor Doom. So as Enterprise said, it sounds desperate, because they are really fucking desperate, even though it's just like, hey, how about finish your script first? That's like pretty much probably going to get rid of like half the reasons why this movie is probably going to be dog shit, is because you don't have just finish your script, and maybe it'll be a decent movie that'll get maybe more than $500 million. So it's just like, but they're expecting $2 billion with this. Oh, if we do all these things, we're gonna get $2 billion. It's like, no, you're not. Especially when the last 3 of your movies has underperformed. Yes, critically will help, but an Avengers movie isn't automatically going to be, yep, that's going to do it. It's just like, nope.
Well, this is the thing. I think it's even if you, for example, have a Ghost Rider in there, even if they have Nicolas Cage making a cameo, which, Steven, I think its chances are it probably happens, because Nick Cage will take the payday and show up for a few hours. But I do like the idea on its own that Chris Evans' Captain America comes back for a big crossover like this, and maybe just keep it limited to these movies, these Avengers movies, and not obviously bring him back again as the permanent Captain America. But I think it just, when you look at it and the larger, a bigger picture perspective, while I think it would be fantastic to see him back, it just, I think right now it's we're trying to talk about how, like, what is the psyche behind the scenes at Marvel. Like, are they because this will be the first time they would go back for a big, legacy cameo. Deadpool and Wolverine wasn't entirely filled with those kind of cameos, and while it did the job of making $1.3 billion, the highest grossing rated R rated R movie ever of any kind, I just think it doesn't have like a lot of lasting power. Like, it doesn't, like, Deadpool and Wolverine doesn't build your franchise. And the Russo brothers have talked about this is the start of a new era of Marvel. I just don't think if you fill it up with all kinds of just cameos from past characters who don't have much of a future for, like, building the franchise in between those Avengers movies, then you kind of in a rough spot. So that's kind of where I think the negative side of it comes from. That like, it's fan service is great. Like, you can love the fan service. I mean, it's clearly we are the fans, service us fans, why not? But I just think from a storytelling perspective, like, what does that mean? Because then it's exactly, people will be wondering, what about Anthony Mackie's Captain America? I'm sure they're going to address it head on in the movie with some kind of like scene where the two of them look at each other and he's like, I swear I'm only here for this one adventure, then I'm going back to the 40s. But like, it's like, it does dilute again the run of Anthony Mackie's Captain America before he even has a good movie of his own, and he's already doubting himself. He might as well be like, well, since you're here, you might as well keep the shield, man. Like, I think I'm done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it starts to make you wonder. So yeah, exactly. Well, figure drawing, I mean, has a more positive outlook on it. I think it could be great, but it's one of those things where Marvel might just be going for short-term gain for long-term pain, in a matter of speaking. And that's what worries you, right? And that's why I was calling back to the whole Kevin Feige thought that not having Chris Evans in Captain America 4 was the reason why it didn't do well. I'm like, that is A, oversimplification of what happened, and B, exactly the opposite of what you should be worrying about anyway. Like M2G said earlier perfectly, Cap 4 was a sequel to two not very well received and well remembered, especially the first Incredible Hulk movie in the MCU, as opposed to making it what it should have been, which is the first in Anthony Mackie's Captain America franchise. So I hope that they don't again lean too heavily on the legacy cameos. Yeah, exactly. Decent fan base. Grant Sapane. You're putting it perfectly. Or Grand Sapien. Thank you. I got it right eventually. By the way, hello. Welcome to the chat. Good movies ultimately is what it comes down to. I think that's really, and the people will come in and watch it. Like, it's Superman is making plenty of money. I think we talked about the Batman Part 2 could potentially be $1 billion movie if it's as good as the first one. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to need to make $2 billion to break even, Frankie, but certainly they're going to need to make probably $1 billion to break even, considering the amount of people they have in the movie, the amount of actors and everything. So with that in mind, guys, let us know in the comments down below. What do you think about both Fantastic Four dropping like a rock at the box office? Still probably will be profitable, but barely. It will be the highest grossing Marvel movie of the year, but for the first time in pretty much 17 years, it will not be the highest grossing movie of the year coming from Marvel Studios. As far as superhero movies go, Superman, it looks like, will finish the year as the highest rated and the highest grossing superhero movie of the year. Your thoughts on that? And again, do you think Chris Evans is actually coming back? Is he the one who's meant to be, in his home that's we are meant to believe is Luke Cage's house in all those Avengers Doomsday leaked scripts? Tell us about it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Hit the like button while you're here. We've got some new folks in the chat again. Game Freakness saying, what did you like more, Superman or Fantastic Four? Before we get to the quick hits, John, really quickly, I want to answer Game Freakness's question. Which one did you like?
Sorry, I didn't have a chance to mute it. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I liked Superman more. I've seen it 3 times now. I'm going to try and see it one more time, but I thought it was a much better movie. It felt more concrete and better paced, better flow, and had actual character motivations and development and all that. So
I think for me, they were kind of on the same level for different reasons. Obviously, 2 different movies. I know my out of theater reaction was more positive for Fantastic Four than it was for Superman, but I think in hindsight, Superman probably ages better. So yeah, but I think Kevin making a good point about Fantastic Four. I think it's because it's Marvel. People are making a bigger deal out of it, but that's also, I mean, duh, like it's Marvel, like you expect them to do well. They had a whole streak where for like 30 plus movies, they kept opening #1 and made a shit ton of money. There's more billion-dollar movies in the MCU than any other franchise ever. It's the highest grossing, the most successful franchise of all time. So the expectations are always going to be high. And that's why I figured drawing, well, yes, both Superman and Fantastic Four could be loss leaders. Ultimately, I think the expectation is still there to perform. And that's where them falling short a bit, does hurt them. And while Superman is still doing really well for itself, relatively speaking, Fantastic Four, I just think it's just dropping really, really fast. Like, is it even going to get to 500 million? That's the big question now. And for them to rely so heavily on Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars to turn the ship around, I mean, that's a lot of pressure on Avengers movies to be successful. spoilerish question about what game freakness? Are you asking about Superman or Fantastic Four? Because we are talking Superman, Fantastic Four spoilers. So if it's about those movies, you can post spoilers. If it's about a different movie that we haven't, most people haven't seen yet, like something like Weapons, for example, we are not talking Weapons spoilers. Just actually, are we talking Weapons spoilers? Let me just double check. Yeah, we are. Never mind. You can post a question about Weapons. If it's spoilery, you'll be fine. Well, John MTG agrees with you there. All right. If you had a superpower, what superpower would it be? Good question. I would probably want to be able to fly, because that's the one thing, would be hard for me to figure out any other. I mean, you can fly in a plane, but the sensation of flying yourself would be pretty epic. Pretty epic. They should have added an origin story for Superman. James Gunn has clearly said he's not interested in doing that anymore. Like, he's just done with the idea of showing Batman, Spider-Man, Superman origin stories, because everybody knows them already. So, yeah. Yep. Tony is going to see if a movie 4 times is pretty weird. That's all right. I mean, but some people do. And it's not for every movie. I did actually see Barbie 4 times in the movie theater. So that's rare for me. But anyway. Yeah. All right. Well, with that, guys, I think we're going to move into the next part of the news show, which is the quick hits. So we have a bunch of quick hits today. We actually had some news break while we've been live. So we're going to get into all that. We got to talk about Shrek 5 getting delayed, as well as the very first quick hit of the day. We now know that our new John Rambo. Now, this article is a little bit, outdated, because since we have gone live, we now know that the new Rambo, John Rambo, is gonna be played by Noah Centineo. We heard that this is gonna be an origin story for Rambo from back in his Vietnam War years, and this was this has been in development for months. We talked about it like months ago, and now we know, John, that Noah Centineo, who was most recently, I believe, he was in Black Adam, as was it The Atom? And then he was
Adam
also
Smasher.
Adam Smasher, and then he had a Netflix show. I think it was called, what was it called?
The Recruit.
The Recruit, which recently got canceled. So I guess he's freed up to do this. What are your thoughts on Noah Centineo as the new John Rambo, following in the footsteps of Sly Stallone?
No, just no. Just everything about this is no. Like, I wish, Noah Centineo, he has promise. I look at that fucking pretty boy face and I don't see John Rambo. Sorry.
I think he's got the
physique, it's just like, what are they going to do? It's just going to be a Vietnam movie, and it's just like, there's a trillion out there that are going to be way better than this. So it's like, I guess, like, cool, which could be interesting, but like, I don't know. I just
5 was enough, said Tony. We've already got plenty. Well, The First Blood is probably still the best Rambo movie. But yeah. John, do you have the Shrek story, by the way? I think we can talk about that next.
Yeah, I didn't know when you wanted to do it. So yeah, here it is. Cool, great. I don't give a fuck.
Let's talk about it. Anyway. So Shrek 5 just got moved. They got delayed the movie for about, what was it, like 6 months to summer 2027. They instead now have an untitled Illumination event picture going in its place. John, if you scroll down a little bit, there's a little more detail here from Deadline. So this just came out while we have been live. If you're very top of the article there, Universal Pictures said on Monday, you're still Monday if you're watching us live, that they're moving DreamWorks Animation's Shrek 5 from December 23rd of 2026 to Wednesday, June 30th of 2027, which essentially, leaves gives it a better summer corridor, and it gives it probably more room to make a ton of money, because more people are able to go to the movies in the summer months, even more so than Christmas. And well, it's going to be 17 years since the last Shrek movie would have come out by the time it comes out now. John, also I mentioned Universal has added an Illumination event movie, so maybe a Despicable Me or Minions or something like that, which now is coming out earlier in 2027 from June 30th, which was pretty much the previous date for it, to now April 16th. So they moved a few dates around and they vacated the December 23rd date. So it looks like we're getting some changes in the schedule, but do you think it's going to be worth an extra 6-month wait to see Shrek 5?
Probably not. probably gonna be crap.
17 years ago, man, and that was Shrek Forever After. That was that the 4th movie or the 5th movie? I forget how many Shrek movies they've made. Well, actually, never mind. It was the 4th because Shrek 5. I'm dumb. Anyway, John, let's move on to the next story. I thought this was just fun to talk about because why not? I can't wait for Shrek and Donkey to be back. One Piece has now been renewed for season 3 at Netflix, as the streamer has now dropped the first look of season 2. I was watching these first looks over the weekend. It looks kind of cool, John. What do you think? They've already renewed it for another season.
I'm not really I'm not really an anime fan. I don't really care about One Piece. Don't really care about this. I'm glad that the one Netflix adaptation for this is like actually decent. So congrats, I guess, after shit like Death Note and Cowboy Bebop were trash. But I don't really care. Don't really care about One Piece. So yep.
Hey, Marcos is here. What's up, man? All the way from Portugal. We love having you in the chat. The chat is popping today, guys. Again, if you haven't hit the like button yet, please give it a shot. Appreciate it. Brings the show in front of more people, and it helps us out a lot. So let's move on to the next quick hit, John. I think the One Piece show has been getting better, by the way. I agree with you, Brogu. It's still not quite anime come to life, but it's better than most other anime live action remakes. Speaking of, well, not remakes, but hey, Downton Abbey. They've set an NBC primetime special to celebrate the grand finale movie. So we know that the final movie in the Downton Abbey franchise is set to come out, and now they've got a primetime special to celebrate what's going to be hopefully a celebratory end to the franchise. Sean, I don't know if you're a big fan of this. Are you looking forward to watching the primetime special?
Nope, don't care.
All right, moving on to the next thing. So the next quick hit that we have for you guys, this comes to us from Deadline. Yellow Jackets co-showrunner Jonathan Lisco has now inked an overall deal with Warner Brothers Television and HBO Max. Now, of course, he's continuing on as the executive producer and a consultant on Yellow Jackets, because Yellow Jackets will continue. It just got renewed recently over at Showtime, and you can watch it on Paramount Plus as well. But he is going to be developing original projects for HBO Max. And John, if you scroll all the way down in this article, they do talk about Jonathan Lisco is sort of almost coming home, because he has produced a lot of shows in the past for Warner Brothers and HBO. So this wouldn't be his first time tangoing with Warner Brothers. I think it's even further down here, but they do point out that of course he's going to continue to work on Yellow Jackets until that show comes to a close. So John, it looks like Prodigal Son returns to Warner Brothers. He's done a lot of work in the past for them. Now with an overall deal, it looks like moving forward, everything new that he writes will be exclusively for HBO Max.
Cool.
Your thoughts?
I've heard Yellow Jackets is amazing. I've heard Animal Kingdom is fantastic. So I wish
Animal
the best
Kingdom was
for
on
him.
TNT. But one of the last few shows before cable completely died.
Yeah, but I mean, I've heard it's great, and so I haven't watched it. I think my dad watched Animal Kingdom, and I have not seen this. I think my sister watches this. She says it's great. It's can be kind of hit and miss, but for the most part, it's a great show. So I wish the best for him. I hope we get more intriguing original stuff, and yeah, so good for him.
Yeah. Well, and I hope he makes some good TV for Warner Brothers and HBO. All right, let's keep on going to the next thing. So we have also got, John, a Martin Scorsese documentary series coming up in October on Apple TV Plus. They just revealed the first clip. It's going to be called Mr. Scorsese. I don't know if it's going to have anything to do with the Kool-Aid movie that he was working on, but your thoughts on Mr. Scorsese coming to Apple TV Plus this October?
I hope to watch it, because I will say, Apple TV, I've seen a couple of their documentaries, and they've actually, I think, Still, the Michael J. Fox documentary was on Apple, and that was surprisingly really good. So, no, Patrick, I have never seen a single episode of American Horror Story. Again, that was one my sister watched, but I think she gave up after season 3 or 4, because she's like, this show is like dog shit now. So I think even she gave up. But no, I never watched it. Never really intrigued me. It just kind of seemed like normie horror, which, is fine. It's just not my thing. Like, kind of like the Blumhouse kind of vibe of like, not great, just kind of lame, cheap horror, which is not my thing.
But the jokes for this are rampant. Should be educational. It's not cinema. I do wonder though if it's documentary they're gonna explore the whole origin of cinema. Like give us if Martin Scorsese has even seen the meme of himself.
I'm sure he has. His daughter like trolls him constantly. Like I remember one year, like the same year that he said the Marvel movies are like theme parks, they're like roller coasters. She wrapped his presents in Marvel wrapping paper. So his and like she makes fun, but it's like all in good fun. She like makes fun of him like how he watches his own movies, and then he's like, "Oh, great! Did you see that?" She's like, "You fucking made this," and he's like, "Yeah, but it's great."
Yeah, you know what? You gotta have an ego to do good in this world. And speaking of
Martin Scorsese, he's earned it. Like it's fine.
Speaking of egos, though, man, I'm not saying that the man does way too many movies a year. I don't know how long he can keep this up, but the next quicket that we've got here, of course, is yet another movie from Sebastian Stan, John. Because he's doing what, like 3-4 movies a year these days, and it looks like Frankenstein and Romania is going to be his next film, because Sebastian Stan, the Winter Soldier, is set to star in the movie that Radu Jude is writing. The free-spirited Iconoclast also plans to next shoot a movie about immigration and about Romanians working abroad. Frankenstein and Romania, John, a new Sebastian Stan movie. Does this interest you much?
The only one I care about is Guillermo del Toro's. That's the only one I care about. So I don't care about The Bride either.
The Kool-Aid reference, thank you. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. And Martin Scorsese is a legend. Also, watch The Studio, Apple TV Plus. Moving on to the next thing, John.
Speaking of non-legends, gross, James Marsden.
James Marsden recently called filming Avengers Doomsday a nice little homecoming to a role that really put me on the map, John. Of course, yes, Cyclops was really the role that made James Marsden into who he is today. Your thoughts on him, kind of looking back fondly at the experience of being an Avengers?
I mean, yeah, working with a pedophile made him a pedophile defender, so, like, there is that.
He said, "I'm getting a little long in the tooth to put on a superhero costume. I was excited because you're a part of something gigantic, and I've spent 20 years listening to people say, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? Are you coming back?" And he was like, "Well, my character's kind of dead, but I guess it's not. I guess his character isn't so dead after all." But hey, anyway, moving on to the next thing. Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot, John. We've got some set photos from it now. Apparently, they're controversial because Sarah Michelle Gellar is wearing this in what looks like, I don't know, like a business formal red dress that seems maybe not exactly what people would expect Buffy to wear. But then again, it's been a long time since we have been in the world of Buffy.
Fucking change.
So, yeah, like, I don't know, like, what did you think about it? It's like, of all the things people could be nitpicking, they're nitpicking the fact that she's wearing a red dress. For all we know, this is maybe not even part of the show. Like, she might just walked on the set wearing this with a coffee in her hand. Like, I don't get it. Like, this just... The internet
people just want to be mad. They just want to be mad. I mean, don't get me wrong, the show is probably not going to be very good. I don't really trust it. I want it to be good for Buffy fans because, I know a lot of people that are Buffy fans, so there is that. But don't really trust it all that much. But yeah, this isn't one of the reasons why.
Yeah. Well, all right, moving on. Hopefully people will react a little more normally when we get more. I'm sure we're going to get more set photos. But yeah, I just thought this was kind of over the top. Speaking of Buffy, though, John, Marin Dungy, Audrey C. I don't know how to pronounce her last. I'm sorry, Audrey. But then also another Audrey Grace Marshall. They've all now joined the Hulu pilot, which I just talked about, is now filming for the Buffy reboot. I don't know if you know any of these actresses. I feel like I've seen Marin Dungy in something, but yeah, looks like the cast is continuing to fill out for the new Buffy show. Yeah,
looking cool. I don't know who any of these people are, but cool.
Well, so far they're just doing the pilot, so I guess I don't know if the whole. I don't remember.
Well, Hulu before it, gets absorbed into Disney Plus,
Well,
but you know,
you will still, but the Hulu brand will exist. Like it will still be its own thing, but just within Disney Plus. So which is
yeah, just but then when that's the case, you're gonna have to relinquish your right to sue Disney now if you even want Hulu. So
perfect. Oh, come on, Kyle. Come on. I mean, it is a diverse casting. So anyway, let's keep on going, shall we?
You don't know a single person that's 30 anyway. Okay. All right, this is all you. I don't care about this. So yeah, you. Have fun.
Okay. So the UFC, we talked about just last week that the ESPN had just paid $1.6 billion to WWE to bring in all of their big pay-per-view events in the US. That includes WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Money in the Bank, Royal Rumble, all those other events. So we were wondering what's going to happen with also the UFC because their deal was also expiring coming up. And both are owned by TKO, WWE and UFC. And now we know that the UFC has found a new partner, the Paramount Plus and CBS. They have given them a deal that is worth $7.7 billion over the course of 7 years, which is a big improvement on what they were doing before with ESPN, because ESPN's deal paid out roughly $500 million a year to them over the course of, I think it was a 5-year deal, more or less. This new deal, if you do the math, is $1.1 billion a year. So all of the pay-per-view events, and actually the other big part of this is, previously, UFC would do all these pay-per-views, like UFC, the numbered events, UFC 250, 341, whatever. Like it's like our episode numbers are like 364. Now UFC is kind of getting rid of the pay-per-view format, like kind of like what WWE did. Now they call them PLEs. So I wonder if UFC is going to do the same. But basically, those events will all be on Paramount Plus. And well, the new CEO of Paramount Plus, David Ellison, really happy about the idea, trying to make Paramount a very tech-forward company. And well, they will get all the fight nights. They will get the formerly pay-per-view events, and some of those events will also be on CBS, the broadcast network, so you can check it out there. And then I think for a lot of people, if you're a UFC fan, you don't have to pay like $100 for a UFC event anymore. Like you just need Paramount Plus. So all of a sudden, it just got a lot cheaper for you. So that's good if you're a fan of the UFC. And you know what? Like now you can watch it at home as long as you have Paramount Plus. You don't have to go, to a bar. Well, if you don't want to, that is. I'm sure a lot of people enjoy that better than watching it at home. But yeah, let's keep on going here, John. We have a couple of more nuances to this because beyond just this article in the wrap, I think the next link here, again, like I mentioned, the TKO group, doing really well for themselves because recently they also released their financial numbers, which look great. And now they've got a deal with Paramount, which this is a big step for the new ownership to like, okay, we got the UFC, like, let's go. And well, they got the NFL over there as well. So good for them. I used to work for Paramount, so I'm kind of biased to that. But hey, let's keep on going, John, because we talked about the ESPN streaming service launching for $30 a month on August 21st. You'll get all of their NFL games. Everything that ESPN has on cable will be on that ESPN app for $30 a month. Fox also launching something similar called Fox One for $20 a month on August 21st. But now it looks like the two will be able to bundle it all together for $40 a month. So for $40 a month, you can get all of Fox Sports, FS1, FS2, all the ESPN networks, NFL Network, even Red Zone, as well as, of course, that includes now the WWE and, so all the stuff that ESPN, like NFL, you got NHL, they might be getting MLB rights back, as well as, of course, a big chunk of the NFL as well. So this, in the past, they had this Venu platform that got sued by Fubo, and then Disney bought Fubo. So now ESPN and Fox One, $40 bundle. There you go. All right. So Enterprising is like, okay. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the sports are moving to streaming, and this is literally meant to replace your cable package for sports. Like for $40 a month, you can pretty much, for most people, outside of, I don't know, like, well, if you get CBS, Paramount Plus, then you've got pretty much all your NFL right there. Or Peacock, I guess. Peacock, Paramount Plus, now ESPN, and Fox, or just get the bundle. All your NFL games in one place. Anyway, move on to the next thing. Because I know John is tired of me talking about it, as are a lot of you guys. So it will be more than cable. That's definitely true. But hey, John, James Gunn was busy on Threads just bodying people for stupid criticisms of Superman in the movie. This person here, Stephen Keith, hopefully I'm sure he's a great person, but he was critiquing the whole thing about Crypto's name, saying Crypto's dog being Superman's dog being named Crypto is just bad writing. It's like naming your dog Eartho, and James Gunn completely coming in and bodying him, saying, hey, I'd consider naming my dog Eartho if I was stranded on another planet and he was the last memory I had of home. Your thoughts?
I agree. Makes sense. And plus, there is the Titan. I think it was the Titan, Gaia, who gave birth to the gods, and the Earth is named after her in like Greek mythology. Gaia is a great name. I for a dog. I'm just saying.
I just thought this was great, though. This is just I love. Yeah, exactly. It's not like
exactly. Don't blame James Gunn. He didn't fucking write the character. Blame. I think it was Otto Binder and like Carmen Infantino who created the character, if I remember correctly.
This response though deserves the whole I need the meme. Just drop the meme. Like this. You know what I'm talking about.
Otto Binder, Kurt Swan, and Cy Berry. Blame them for Crypto being named Crypto.
Yeah. Well, moving on to the next James Gunn related quick hit, because he also sort of gave up some Marvel secrets, John, because he was doing this interview with GQ. I'm sure this is from the Superman promotional push. And basically he was talking about how when he was shooting the first Guardians movie, and there's that whole scene with the Collector, and they show you all the different colored Infinity Stones. At the time, they hadn't even decided that the red Infinity Stone was going to be the one in Thor: The Dark World. And originally, the Power Stone in Guardians was the red stone. They shot it as a red stone, and in post-production, Kevin Feige and crew were like, no, I think we're going to change that to purple, and then we're going to change the one in Thor: The Dark World is going to be the red stone. So James Gunn was like, I don't know what the red stone, I don't know what any of these stones were. We just picked the colors and stuff and basically, called it a day. So he kind of made it up in like 3 minutes, that whole scene. So
I remember when this was actually came out like years ago, that he pretty much came up with the lore for the Infinity Stones super quickly. Like this, he embellishes depending on the, like, I remember like one interview said, oh, it took me 45 minutes. Another was like, oh, it took me a day. This one said it took me 3 hours. So he probably just like embellishes it, but it, like, in less than a day he came up with all this insane lore for all the fucking thing that would lead to Endgame. And it's just like, that's just funny how it's just like, oh yeah, they really didn't. Fucking Marvel prepared. They had a plan. No, they didn't have shit. They didn't have fucking shit. So shut up about your bullshit plans. All right.
I think what it does goes to show you that they thought really well on their feet, and obviously in the end things worked out.
It worked. Obviously, it didn't work for Kathleen Kennedy in the sequel trilogy, but
James Gunn loves watching James Gunn videos. I'm sure he does. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you love watching yourself, Tony? Like, don't we all love talking to ourselves in the mirror every once in a while? Anyway, moving on to the next thing. Maybe it's just me and James Gunn. Who knows? Speaking of things that we don't necessarily like all the time, or companies that don't always have a plan, AMC theaters, their box office just surged in this latest quarter because a lot more people are going to the movies. Not necessarily because a lot more people are going to the movies, but there's a lot more movies this year at the box office than there were last year. So the revenues jumped 35% to 1.4 billion, as they finally look to get out of the debt hole that they was brought onto them at the pandemic that almost put them out of business. But John, the more pertinent story is the next one here, which talks about AMC boss, the CEO Adam Aron, who was just talking about how the recently expanded pre-shows that now could be up to a half hour or more, and people are annoyed because they have like more ads playing between trailers, which completely take you out of the movie-going mood, and then you have to watch Nicole Kidman for the 50,000th time before the movie starts. Apparently, Adam Aron's like, we hear you guys. We can shave 4 or 5 minutes off this show, like before the movie starts. John, what do you think about the idea of just maybe, I don't know, shaving 4 or 5 minutes and just sitting there for 25 minutes as opposed to 30 before the movie plays?
Shave off 15 minutes and you're in business.
I agree with you.
It should not be longer than 20 minutes. Like, I'm just, if I'm watching the movie, here I am in my comfortable chair watching the movie. I'm like, I shouldn't be sitting here being like, don't get me wrong, I like seeing previews. I do, but like 30 minutes, because then people are going to get like, when is this going to end? When is this going to end? And then you have the people coming in late because they expected like 30 minutes, and then maybe it's like less time and like, or something like that. And
that has happened to people.
It's like they're expecting all this time and they're like, oh shit. And then they come in and the movie started already. So it's like, well, shit.
Yep. Exactly. I mean, I went to see F1 the other day and the movie started like a good 10 minutes after I walked in, and I walked in 20 minutes late. So like right around 30 or so minutes. But I mean, it's a lot. What it really takes me out of it is when they play an ad right before the movie, and all of a sudden you're like, watch a movie trailer. Okay, you're in movie, watching mode. But just like an ad for some random product completely takes me out of it. So yeah. But hey, you know what? They at least do 50% off on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So there you go. I guess you can look forward to that. Guys, that's all the quickest we had for you today. So with that, let us know in the comments down below what you think about all the news items from today, the quick hits. Shrek 5 just got delayed. And, Patrick agrees with you, John, on your idea. Tony gets to the theater early, get some good food, sit in and watch some of the previews. For some other people, they'd rather just get there before the movie starts. So I totally understand. But with that, guys, as Enterprising is saying, well, it's time. It's time. It's DC time.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see chorus.
Right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you really I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all on the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto.
Hunka hunka!
All right, welcome on into another episode of DCU Daily, and hey, we got quite a few things to get into today. You guys are already active in the chat if you're watching live. Thank you for stopping in, and we hope you're enjoying the show. Hit that like button while you're at it if you have been watching from earlier. But the rest of the show, I mean, Brogu already saying goodnight. It's a little late for Brogu, but enjoy the rest of your week. Brogu, we hope you're back on the show. We're here 5 days a week. And yeah, Tony, we were talking about earlier how the amount of money we pay at the movie theater, like I think we can cut the amount of ads they play before the movie starts. And it looks like AMC will try to cut it down a little bit. But yeah, 25 to 30 minutes is entirely too much. Steven, we will save that for tomorrow. The Scooby-Doo news, we will save that for tomorrow. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. But hey, you know what? We are exactly maybe tomorrow. We are here to talk about some DCU M2G. So with that, John, I have a question for you. What is the story of the day that you are most excited about?
Oh, I'm excited to talk about, the cutest little kid playing with his Superman toy while his dad works very hard on what would become the Superman film. So I really like that.
That was a list special. She found that for us. That is probably the cutest thing of the day. Well, I guess it depends if you like a certain other baby toy and think that's more cute. But we'll see. All right. Well,
probably not.
Speaking of things worth celebrating, John, it is still on the West Coast and Central Time Zone, as well as the Mountain Time Zone in the U.S., the birthday of the one and only Amanda Waller herself, Viola Davis. So James Gunn took to social media, as he does with a lot of the actors that he works with closely, to wish Viola Davis, Amanda Waller, who she will be coming back in that role hopefully soon, and he wished her a happiest of birthdays, saying she may be on the outs with the government and Argus after her daughter outed her in Peacemaker, but she's always in my heart, the absolute GOAT on screen, Amanda Waller, and the GOAT in real life, Viola Davis. If you click on the image, I just love how this is just looks like James Gunn is creeping in on Viola Davis, looking like she's acting out a very serious scene. Your thoughts on this? And again, just the value of Viola Davis sticking around in the new DCU and what she brings to the new cinematic universe that James Gunn is spearheading.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is really nice. I do love. I think we do need this to add to our collection of James Gunn images for
I'm
thumbnails.
I'm gonna save that.
So just like cut that out and just be like, just like imagine it was like James Gunn bodies and ratios, another dumbass critic, and he's just coming in like, hey.
Yep. Well, happy birthday to Viola Davis. I know
Thanks,
on the East Coast,
enterprising.
as we're doing the show live, it's pretty much midnight. But I'm sure Viola Davis spends a lot of time on the West Coast. So happy birthday to you, and thank you again, like you said, John, for the super chat, enterprising. We appreciate it, and it goes a long way. It's like bringing M over from Pierce Brosnan to Daniel Craig. Exactly. That's a good way of looking at it. Hey, Yash is here. Hi, Yash. All the way from Toronto. How are you doing today, Yash? Did you get a chance to watch any movies over the weekend? Do let us know. Frankie is saying, I liked her as Waller. Glad she stayed in the new DCU. Absolutely. I think we can all agree on that. John, with that, we have a bit of an update, slight update. I don't know if it's too much of an update, but we talked about it on Friday. Max Minghella was in talks, is still in talks, set to join DC Studios Clayface. We don't know in what role exactly, or did we? I think they mentioned it in the article.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do a quick scroll here, we can talk about it, because on Friday we mentioned this. It was coming in from one of the scoopers, and today it looks like we're getting it from Deadline. So I think that adds a little bit more credibility to it. Of course, the movie is set to come out September 11th of 2026, next year. And while the deal hasn't closed yet, it looks like it's pretty close. And from what I can tell, he probably plays the villain or maybe one of the other supporting characters. What I didn't realize is in the same article, they pointed out that Naomi Aki from Mickey 17 is also in this movie. I forgot if that was even the case.
I think we did like a quick thing, like where it was like quickly mentioned how she was like, oh, going to be in it, or was it had a role considered or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do remember seeing this at some point very recently. So yes, I was slightly aware, but I wasn't sure if it was like, oh, she was definitely in it, or if she was like, oh, she's considered, like the article like suggests with Max Minghella. Like,
yeah, because I don't remember talking about it like in an explicit sense of like, oh yeah, she's on signed on to the movie. But I mean, between Tom Rice Harries, who's already reading up his Clayface comics, and you got James Watkins directing, Max Minghella, who's an Emmy-nominated actor from The Handmaid's Tale and many other shows, and Naomi Aki, who we all remember so fondly, even if you didn't like the movie so much, Mickey 17, she was really good in it, although I think a lot of people loved the movie. I can't wait. I can't wait for this. Nelson is now joining in. What's up, everyone? Joe Hendry would make a great Booster Gold. You know what? You say his name and he appears, and I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised if he does play Booster Gold. A Scottish Booster Gold would do the world some good. Why not? Just some. Oh, actually, not just some geeky guy. Yash was watching Weapons over the weekend, saying it was good, not scary. I messed up with Weapons though, and read the leaked script, so the plot was spoiled for me. Well, that's probably why it wasn't scary for you, because you read the leaks, man. I don't know. I'm just saying. All right, cool. Well, John, we got to move on to the next.
Yeah, I mean, Barbarian definitely had more of a creep factor to it. I think Weapons was more of a horror mystery, but there are plenty of moments that were like good and creepy and had a good atmosphere to it. Had some good effective jump scares. Right. So I wouldn't say like, but the thing is, the idea of horror is not very cut and dry as some people suggest. Like there was a great picture, I might go try and get it, of like all the things that like that can be attributed to horror that are people like, oh, that's not horror, that's thriller. Oh, that's not this is that. But it's really all encompassing, and people think of like, because my dad is the same way, where he's like, oh yeah, people hacking up bodies is horror, and that's the only thing that's horror. It's like, no, it's more thorough and nuanced and longer than that, than just like slasher movies. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think it's also a matter of like with weapons, we know it's a genre bender, so I didn't expect anything less. It's gonna mix in the elements from different movies. Gucci didn't like it, but glad it's doing well. There you go. There were things in the script I couldn't visualize until the trailers were released. Good point. Well, hey, I will say we did a full spoiler review of Weapons on Friday, and we talked about it for like a good hour. So you're welcome to go check that out. I think that's going to give you a lot of amazing insight. So definitely go take a look at that, Yash. And I know a bunch of you other guys like also didn't watch that part of the show because you hadn't seen the movie yet. So definitely go check that out. Yeah. Yep, there's some really, really creepy parts of the movie. But hey, John, we're here to talk about DC, so let's move on to the next story here, shall we? I mentioned earlier, we were talking about cute moments from Superman, and certainly, I think depending on where you stand on green baby-looking characters, I mean, Grogu's not here anymore, so we can't talk about Grogu, but we got Baby Joey here, and James Gunn posting a photo with the, well, I'm guessing one of the reference props from the movie. Your thoughts on a closer look at Baby Joey? This is from the movie itself, not one of the merchandise things.
Yep.
I mean, they obviously replaced it with CGI in the movie itself for most of it.
Right.
What do you think? Is there a future for Baby Joey in the new DCU?
I hope so. He's cute, and I know he's a very powerful metahuman in the comics. So, yeah, I think it would be. Yeah, I think I hope so.
It's a big ass head.
And a big ass head. There's like Hey Arnold up in here.
Babies have big heads, right? That's kind of normal. That part of it's kind of normal. Well, I'm sure they had some of it. Like I'm sure this was like one of the practical options they had on set, so that the actors, like I'm sure when David Cornsweet is holding Baby Joey in that the what do they call that? The pocket dimension. I'm sure like he was holding that, and then they replaced it with CGI in the post. But yeah, Tony, that's Baby Joey. That's Metamorpho's baby. So if you saw the movie, then you know that's Baby Joey. Good. Come on, Nelson. I don't think that's what they're going for, but I guess we'll find out if that's the direction to take it. Anyway, John, we also got another behind-the-scenes set photo from Superman. And this one finally shows us the two super actors, David Cornsweet as Superman, with his phone tucked by his bulge, and of course,
Nicholas Hoult ready to
drop in the bulge and tell you to go see the movie. That is probably the best thing they did for marketing this film, was that Nicholas Hoult memeable ad. But anyway, of course you've got Millie Alcock there, John, and she's zipped up the suit there. I don't know if she's wearing the suit underneath or not, but
I don't think so.
Certainly she's not showing it off here, where it looks like David Cornsweet is in his suit without the cape. Your thoughts? This is a super family. They're technically cousins, and this is the first time we've seen them together on set outside of the movie itself, right? Like I don't think we have seen many photos of Millie Alcock and David Cornsweet together. So there you go. Do you buy the chemistry? Like, do you think they are actually cousins?
Yeah, I could see it like that vibe. Also, no, Tony, did you watch the movie? Like, Joey is Rex Mason, aka Metamorpho's son, who was kidnapped in the pocket dimension so that he could be forced to make kryptonite to keep Superman depowered. So
okay, no, Baby Franklin actually had better CGI. Like I think is maybe a few shots of Baby Franklin weren't as good, but I disagree there. Yash was asking why were people so excited about Baby Joey as a character. Well, I think it's because of how he played into the movie. Like Baby Joey is central to the middle part of the film. Like when Metamorpho was technically working for Lex Luthor or being forced to work for him, and it takes Superman convincing him that he's going to help him free both him and Baby Joey to really turn the tide. Otherwise Superman would have probably died. Like Lex Luthor was ready to kill him. So there you go. Johnny's here. Looks like he just looks like a big bro and his little sis. That's a good question, actually, John. Do you think they're going to explain the age difference, and how do you think they're going to do that? Because is it because one traveled through the Phantom Zone or whatever, and the other didn't? Or
well, I don't know how it is in the comic Supergirl Woman Tomorrow. I think it's noted back when Lenny was still part of the channel. She did let us know that they combined every aspect of Supergirl continuity into one, so it made sense. And I think that was part of it, but I don't know what that exact reasoning is. I know in the Supergirl TV series, she was, Superman goes off as a baby. She goes off as a prepubescent teen, like a preteen.
She's like a preteen. Yeah.
And she gets stuck in the Phantom Zone only for well, it's revealed much later that Indigo, which was I think an ancestor or like a descendant of Brainiac, opened up the Phantom Zone so that they could so she eventually escapes and then comes down to Earth. Superman's already an adult and she's a kid, so it's very weird and awkward. But then it's perfectly magical at the end because the Supergirl show didn't understand Supergirl as a character, but that's beside the point. Then in the movie, they the original 1984 movie, they had it like the original version where she was on a chunk of Krypton that like didn't get blown up, Argo City, and then she needs to find the dodecahedron or whatever the fuck it was, and so she gets sent to Earth to find it to power her city because they were losing power and they were all dying, and so she had to go find it. And I think
it's very likely, by the way, Jalen.
Yeah, I think so, like a cameo probably. And then you had the Flash version, which was Flashpoint, so that didn't matter. But I think the modern continuity, because I know in the New 52 they had her like she got stuck in the gravity of the sun and was like revolving around the sun while in hypersleep for like 2 decades, and that's which caused her to become more powerful than Superman because she was essentially supercharging her cells with solar radiation. I don't know what the current continuity is because it changes every other second. But if I were to take a guess, they're probably combining the Argo City stuff of the Silver Age and then the stuff of the modern age of her leaving the same time as Superman and somehow combining those aspects. So.
Yeah. And by the way, just to
I don't know about
just to kind of answer MTG, I think Spider-Man probably most likely makes $1 billion because it's Spider-Man. He's one of the most, if not the most popular comic book character. The movie needs to be good. Like, it's not going to make $1 billion if the movie is bad because, otherwise people won't go to see it again and again. So you still have to qualify it with that. But Nelson, to answer your question.
But hey, everybody loved Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, and those movies didn't make $1 billion.
Well, true, but dude, let's be honest. Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts can kiss Spider-Man's ass and does not matter because not enough money.
I know. I'm just saying, like, I don't know, like,
to give them $1 billion.
I think it'll get close. I think it'll get very close. I don't think it'll hit $1 billion.
It's $1 billion movie because unless they make a terrible movie with Destin Daniel Cretton, I don't think that will be the case. I'm gonna say Spider-Man also, by the way, is gonna outsell Supergirl because Supergirl is just not, while a great character, and when you get the rub of David Cornsweet's Superman being a great movie, it's the first Supergirl movie, and Supergirl is simply not as popular as
technically
Spider-Man.
It's not the first Supergirl movie, but it's the first one since 1984.
Yeah, but the first for most people, like it's the first, and then also it's the first one in this modern era. Like we haven't seen a Supergirl movie in the 21st century, so it's also the first movie in her own franchise, like as part of the DCU, so like her sub franchise. So yeah, but and that's not to say Supergirl won't do well. It also does go up against Toy Story 5 and the next Minions movie. So yeah. And by the way, MTG, there's been no confirmation of any test screenings. Like, take all of those reports with 1,000 grains of salt because they've only just supposedly turned in recently. And at least what James Gunn last mentioned was a rough cut of Supergirl, but that probably is a really early rough cut, maybe a step or two beyond the assembly cut. So I doubt that they're screening it already. And if they are, it's probably only with the people who are, working on the Warner Brothers DC Studios lot. So I don't think, it's going to be a situation where these screenings are being seen by people who are, and then nobody, is going to be breaking their NDA this early, at least. I mean, it's not a finished movie. Like, so, and yeah, so even if if let's say for conversation's sake, Supergirl test screenings right now are positive, great, but it's not the movie we're going to get to see next year anyway. So yeah, the power of the dollar, all of those are good reasons for Spider-Man will, though. I think Yash, it will, and Frankie G, I think it's going to win at the box office, but Supergirl will still be a good addition to the DCU. I think that's definitely also true. Jalen saying, how much do you think Supergirl can make at the moment? I don't know, the super early guess, John, if you were to guess.
I mean, if
how much do you think?
Superman makes 600, 620, then I could see Supergirl making like 400 to 500 million.
Yeah, I think maybe here's the thing. I do think it's capable of making as much as Superman does because it's gonna have the positive rub. And then also Lanterns would have come out most likely. Peacemaker is gonna have come out season 2. So maybe the positivity around the DC would be even higher. I mean, Jalen looking at 700 million. I don't know if that's entirely possible, but like look, it depends on the marketing, the trailers, how good are the movies coming in around it, the Minions movies or the next Toy Story. There's a lot of factors, and then like Yash was pointing out, the power of the dollar overseas is getting weaker now, and I think that also will affect the box office of Supergirl internationally. So these are all things to consider. All things to consider. But yeah, marketing will be a factor. Enterprising, exactly. And like Tony was talking about, like a movie like Avatar, they do really well because they perform really well in 3D and IMAX, which are all more expensive, but they did bring in more money on a per ticket basis. So there you go.
Yash, to answer your question, it's coming out June 26th, 2026. By the way, Caleb, hi Caleb. Oh my God, we've missed you. Our resident shit poster is back, ladies and gentlemen. To the point that my
he actually
bottle,
posted. He commented on a recent video saying he's going to try to be back more because he just
obviously,
turned 17. Happy
your
birthday,
life
Caleb.
comes first. Don't find time if you can. Obviously. Joking aside, obviously we love you guys coming in and chatting with us and giving nice comments. Well, except Yash, who trolls the comments, but that's beside. Still love you, Yash. But I just obviously make sure you're free because people have work, people have plans. Obviously, don't stop everything just for us. We love it, but don't stop your life for us. Just make sure you fit it in properly. Like, for instance, it's 12:30 over here. If you need sleep, we will not be offended if you leave to go get sleep. That's what Brogu did. He left to go get some sleep or do whatever he did. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Well, let's keep on going here, shall we? I think,
yes.
By the way, before we actually move on, sorry, quickly stay on this for a second. I think the perfect caption for this photo is what Tony said: House of L, or How I Learned to Love This Damn Planet. Give me that movie. Maybe that's what James Gunn is writing. Maybe that's what the next super family movie. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, Yash making a lot of good points about how the value of the dollar abroad is factoring into, amongst many other reasons, the differences between the Man of Steel and the Superman box office. But with that in mind, John, let's move on to the next thing. We got to talk about what you previously said was the cutest moment of today's show, which is David Fleming mixing the soundtrack of the movie in his sound booth in the studio, and his son is just playing with the cute Superman action figure in the background. This was a really wholesome moment. Liz sent this over, and I just was like, we have to talk about this. What do you think?
It's enough to make a grown man cry, Dan. And you guys can't hear it. I can hear it, and it's like
it's the music from the movie. Yeah.
It's like it's the scene. I think it's the music from the scene where he stops the building. I think that's what it's from. No, get this the hell out of here. Fuck you, TikTok. But where he's lifting the building and then he rises up, which is Kino cinema moment. That's the moment that has, I didn't straight up cry during it, but the third time almost made me cry because that was I remember someone drew the scene and them reacting to it, and that single-handedly made me want to watch the movie again. So I was in it for that scene. So I'm pretty sure that's the music. I mean, it's the remixed John Williams theme, but it's I think it's the scene where he rises out of the cloud of debris, and then just yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, we will always aura farm just as much as Mr. Terrific when he beats the shit out of people to 5 years time by Noah and the Whale.
Yash is like, let's move on. And Caleb was like, cinema. All right, okay, cool. What are we looking at? Well, we're looking at basically the composer of one of the two composers of the movie, David Fleming. He's mixing the movie. He's helping score the movie Superman, and his son is playing with a Superman action figure in the background. So I think this was it's just a really wholesome moment, Tony. And yeah, I mean, Nelson saying a Dubs family moment. I think it's just really cute. It's on TikTok. You guys can search for it. You'll be able to find it pretty easily. If you guys really want, we'll send you the link in the comments down below. So I'm goddamn Mr. Terrific. Yes, absolutely, Caleb. That was a good moment too. MTG could be watching Super. You know what? We appreciate that you're here.
Not gonna lie, I thought Weapons was better than Superman, and that's saying a lot. But like, I think it was a little bit
basking. All right, John. Let's move on to the next thing. So before we do move on to the next thing, I can load up the article. I just wanted to mention, yes, it is true that a certain former Superman actor has been publicizing the supposedly controversial ideologies behind the character of Superman. And then obviously James Gunn mentioned before the movie came out, it's an immigrant story, and this is the story of America, and all those things are true if you look at the history of the country. And we've talked about how Superman has struggled internationally a little bit because partly because he's just seen as a very American sort of a superhero. Now that said, Smallville's showrunners recently were addressing the controversy around this whole idea that Superman is an immigrant, which I think all of us can agree here. Yes, that's true, but that's also always what Superman has been, and that's part of what makes him so great. What the Smallville showrunners said, John, if you scroll down on this article, is they were just addressing the idea that, look, it's so interesting that we always saw Superman as a great allegory for immigration.
There was literally a fucking episode on it.
Like they said we did an episode in season 6 where we sort of talked about it directly. Clark finds a boy who's working on one of the farms. I remember at the time. Now this is Al Gough from one of the showrunners from Smallville saying that I remember at the time thinking, because this is again 2006, and the network was like, I don't know, this feels a little political for the show, and we are like, it's literally the Superman story. What do you want? And then Miles Millar added saying the fact that it's still this controversial idea, that's what is so great about the Superman story, that I think that's why its legacy has been so powerful, that it really speaks to what the American dream is and all of those sort of elements of Americans. I mean, I think, and this is where, I think they hit the nail on the head better than I think I've heard anybody talk about this in a way that, look, it's a timeless part of Superman's identity. Like, this is who Superman is. Like, he is the ultimate illegal alien. I think that makes him such a great character. So I don't know, John, do you have anything to add to that?
I fully agree with all of this. I mean, the whole thing is like, Superman is all American who think, well, I mean, like the famous gift from France. Miss Liberty herself, Statue of Liberty, give us your hungry, give us your poor. That's what America was fucking based on. The idea that, people were like, we're sick of this totalitarian bullshit. We're going to find a new world. We're going to have our own laws. And then when they still kind of like owned that idea, and 3% tax on tea, flips the tea into the harbor. Get the fuck out of here. I know that's a very oversimplification, but I'm just saying, like, that's like the whole idea of, this country was built on, immigration and emigrating from a place that was not great to finding us. I know we've kind of lost that for,
or
for a lot of
everybody,
people,
but like,
and that's
it's
sad.
Not everybody, but yeah.
It's exactly, and it's I wouldn't say America's built on racism. It's kind of like
it's everybody. Yash. So
it's just like there was a great comedian who put it like this, and we're gonna go into a little bit of controversial, then we're gonna steer it back. But I swear I have a point where I always forget who the name of the comedian is, but he had this like where it's like, Oh yeah, well, the entire every country is built on the idea of, hey, we like us, we don't like you, so get the fuck away from
Yeah,
us. We don't want
it's
you
like
to come in. Get the
like
hell out of here.
xenophobia is
It's
not
like,
a
oh,
uniquely
there's
American
no
ideal,
racism in
or
Sweden.
not
Yeah,
ideal,
everyone's
but
fucking Swedish.
yeah, value.
And then it's like
Or
America was like,
sentiment.
hey, we don't like you,
Yeah.
but like come in. Like that. And it's just like the whole idea of America is a big melting pot of cultures and ideas and all this stuff. It's like a lot of people make fun of us for like, oh, you don't travel a lot. You don't do well. It's the thing is, going from northeast to southeast is like going into a different country. Like going from New Jersey to Florida is like going to a different country.
I mean, don't even you have to go that far. Go
Acting.
from New Jersey to Virginia. That's you're gonna see a big
Boom.
difference.
Like
so.
it's crazy. So
Yeah.
you know, it's this whole thing. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's try not to dwell on this too much because we don't want to get a little bit too too serious, but it's just kind of that idea of like,
Well, I think
it's
Nelson kind of
crazy.
sums it up well, though. America's greatest strength, as it should be, is family.
I don't have friends. I got family.
And you know what? I think all of that is what being a punk rocker is all about. So, but hey, there was a second part to this article.
Play me off, teddy bears.
There was a second part of this article because, of course, the showrunners of Smallville mentioned that there was a time, Al Go and Mark Millar saying that Spider-Man 4 could have featured Black Cat. They were saying there was talk of the anti-hero. Yeah, there was talk of the anti-hero appearing in Spider-Man 4, and the Amazing Spider-Man 2 would later introduce, of course, Felicity Jones as Felicia. We remember this. That never went anywhere, and neither did the plans for a Silver Sable Black Cat team-up movie called Silver and Black. I remember this actually talking about this a long time ago. Are you surprised, John, that they kind of gave up on that whole idea? Or do you think they're going to revisit that maybe for we've talked about it, Spider-Man Brand New Day?
Because she's a very interesting character, and what they did in the modern era, I think, with her was very interesting. Kind of gave a lot of depth to who she is, and so yeah, exactly. That's what the American way technically is. So I apparently there are a lot of it's ironic because Millar and Goff's stuff for Spider-Man 2 was apparently like pretty much all of their stuff was thrown out because apparently it was really fucking bad. So it's kind of interesting that they had that. But because I know in Spider-Man 4 what they had was they were going to combine certain characters because as we know that one of the villains for Spider-Man 4 was going to be the Vulture, because that's who like Sam Raimi really wanted. He wanted to do the Vulture in the third movie, but Avi Arad was like, no, you have to do Venom because people will expect Venom. And he's like, okay, so I'll do Venom. And then the Vulture was going to be in Spider-Man 4, I think, along with somebody else, but I remember Vulture was the main, and I think John Malkovich or Sir Ben Kingsley was going to play the character.
Mm-hmm.
But then they were going to have quote unquote Black Cat, and they wanted Anne Hathaway, ironically, for the role, but she was going to play a character called the Vultress, because she was going to discover that she was the child of Adrian Toomes, and she was like going to become like a villain and then eventually become a good guy again or something like that. That's what allegedly the plan was, but she was gonna be Felicia Toomes, but like not be Black Cat. She was gonna be the Vultress. So he was gonna, if like maybe if Spider-Man 3 ever came to be,
there was like
Spider-Man
5 setups in that movie that never got paid off, and that was one of them. So yeah. All right. Okay. Moving. Actually, before we move on to the next thing, Nelson, we have actually featured that 2-bit. It wasn't 2. It was like an 8-bit clip of Superman times punk rocker. I think I saw it on Instagram a while ago, and we had it on one of the quick hits. So I don't know which episode to point you back to, but you've seen the clip. We've talked about it on the show before. But hey, after that tiny Marvel side track, whatever, side quest that we just did, John, let's finish the show off with some amazing Superman cuteness that I know we talked about it before. James Gunn has been bodying critics on social media, but this was a fun question that he got asked. One of the other questions that he was asked on Threads. I think if you pull up the Threads link, James Gunn is always active on social media. One of the things he was asked recently, outside of the whole crypto ortho situation, and if you can zoom in a little bit, here's from DCU Updates asking a question. How did Clark introduce his dog to other people, or how does Clark introduce his dog to other people? He'd just have to give him a fake name, right? Like, crypto is a bit of a giveaway, haha, but I guess he could just keep him in the fortress. To which James Gunn sort of gave a bit of a disappointing answer, I would say, saying our crypto can't meet people like that because he might tear them apart, and with a sad emoji. What do you think this means? Do you think crypto really does not hang? I mean, we know that Clark was kind of nervous when crypto is hanging out with the farm animals, and that's one of the reasons why he brings crypto with him into Metropolis for the third act fight. But do you really think crypto can't be just left to his own devices? I mean, that's kind of sad.
I
right?
mean, look what happened to Lex Luthor.
True. That's true, I suppose. Yeah. Crypto is mischievous. That's, yeah.
Well, we were talking about Fantastic Four. You missed it. We were talking about Fantastic Four earlier. So, you know.
Man, be kind and rewind. We spent a lot of time talking about it, actually. So, yeah. I mean, look, Anne Hathaway coming back as Selena Kyle or playing Felicia Hardy, totally. Still give it to me any time of day. I don't know where or how that would work story-wise, but yeah, crypto is that dog, not really dog, but dog. I don't know, John, you say it better than I do. You brought that dog.
You brought that dog, man.
Yeah. I'm not surprised, but you know what? As a sidebar question, John, how does this affect the crypto mini series that they're working on? There's going to be like a series of shorts. So do you think those will all have crypto sort of in the Fortress of Solitude? Or because I'm like, I guess he can't hang out with normal humans. So like, where do you think crypto, what adventures is he going to get up to?
Maybe someplace in the Arctic. Maybe they'll bring in the idea of, of like him killing the Sasquatches or the Yeti that was cut from the final movie. They'll bring that back in. I could see them doing that.
Oh, that's true. Okay, so in the animated show he did. Yeah, I guess that works. That's fair, Patrick. That's fair. Enterprising thing is pretty obvious. Unless he matures as he ages and is trained up better, crypto is pretty dangerous. Yeah, that is true. And yes, Tony, there was, it's pretty much confirmed by James Gunn. He said it himself, although it's not in any official like press releases or anything. But James Gunn has multiple times mentioned during interviews for Superman, as well as before it on Threads, that people were asking about, like, are we going to get more of crypto? And he says, you're in luck, because they're literally working on a series of short films. Think of it kind of like what they did for Groot on Disney Plus. They're going to be seasonally themed, so that you might get one for around Christmas time. Might get one around, I don't know, like springtime, stuff like that, where you'll get these shorts of crypto doing different things, like, quick not like cartoon shorts. It's going to be the same crypto. I think it's going to be probably the same animation style and stuff, but yeah, they're going to be a series of shorts, a mini series, if you will. So yeah, that's something that he did talk about. I don't know about Bat Hound or any other, DC animals, but crypto will definitely be a part of it. So there you go. Yash is talking all about Canada. I mean, there's a lot of great people, actors, and just people who have done great things who come from Canada. So yeah, absolutely. Yash, James Cameron, David Cronenberg, Seth Rogen. And even Superman technically has a Canadian origin, because while he was created in Cleveland, his creators, from Canada. So yeah, that's why the domestic box office counts not just the United States, but also Canada. So there we go. With that, John, I think we've come to a close on today's show. We ran out of things to talk about, did we? Yep. All right. Well, Nelson getting the last say. I would not be surprised if the super pets aren't a factor in the DCU under James Gunn. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to get a lot more, pets, including crypto, maybe Eartho. That's a joke. Definitely probably more Baby Joey, and maybe, Batman's favorite doggy too. So yeah, crypto needs a visit from the dog whisperer. Yeah, get what's his name again? What was this? What's the dog
Caesar
whisperer?
Or something like that?
Caesar Milan. Yeah, get Caesar Milan on the job. I'm sure he will calm crypto down. Well, I've got to crypto of my own, Zelda here, waiting on me. So I'm gonna go join her, and we'll call it a night here on the show. John, thank you again for another fantastic day on the show. Thank you to everybody watching. We appreciate you guys. And look here, like Caleb was saying, let's hope The Rock doesn't play 3 characters in one movie, which I hope we don't. I don't think The Rock's coming back to DC anytime soon. But guys, as James Gunn would like to tell you, as Superman would like to tell you, make sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell if you enjoyed the show. But also, as always, don't forget to look up.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see chorus.
Right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
Here we go. Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in the stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all on the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto.
Hunka hunka.
Screw Jeff Snyder.